Okay. So I think I forgot to add the hashtags. Is it Eternity or Eternity? Eternities. Eternities. Okay, this is supposed to be a quicker video. I mean, a quicker live stream. So hopefully, so I'm not gonna try to dwell too much on just like explaining what's going on. We're gonna try to dive right into it. This will be interesting because this is the last time I did a reaction to the Tarkir stuff, and we've seen Tarkir before. I'm aware of like the gist of Tarkir. I'm more easily can tell you like what they're going for. This is my first experience with with Edge of Eternities, the plane, and I'm very curious. I'm very excited to for the sci-fi plane, partially because I was designing my own sci-fi plane for a while, but now I have to think about like reformatting it or something or scrapping it because now obviously Edge of Eternities exists. But I know some people are probably gonna feel like are gonna probably not gonna like the sci-fi stuff, but me personally, I'm kind of excited to see magic and like playing with some sci-fi tropes. So let me just take a swig of water and we're just gonna dive right in. I'll try to hold on. Let me turn off my night shift because Magic Card is really good, and I really want to like get like really digest what I'm looking at, like unfiltered, and see what they're going for. And also, it'd be interesting if we get anything on the wow, this is a long article. When did it actually end? Interesting if we get anything on the factions. This is kind of long. I hope we don't end up having to break this up. Like, it's gonna be so. I'm interested to see what we get on the factions, and if we can like figure out anything about the factions based on just the art or the like Planeswalker's guide, because Magic actually does a really good job about that. I'm also curious if we can look at some spoilers. We do got some spoilers. Sick lands. Hold on, I should probably link this stream, just because. You know, I think I'll link the stream in the Radley server. Why not? Because I might as. Sorry, I'm being distracted. Actually, I'm not comfortable with LinkedIn servers yet. We'll just drop it in. Actually, you know what? I will get in the stream, but I just gotta figure out a way to. I want to respond to people if they have like something to say. Um, we'll move this over in a second. I'm not trying to. YouTube. So I think what I can do is I can grab my phone and then read like the reactions on my phone, which is not the cleanest solution, but yes, I can see chat on my phone. Can I do it without streaming? I'll tell you if I can do it without streaming later. Hold on. I don't want to out anybody. While I'm getting a call. Hello? 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 Okay. 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 I'll the dog in church. Okay, fine. Alright. I feel like every time the moment I start streaming, just a bunch of stuff comes up. It isn't important enough to stop, but. Okay. Now we can get started without further ado. If I can actually find, if I didn't accidentally close the Edge of Eternities. Wait. Okay, accidentally close it. Give me a second. Okay, now we can officially begin. So, Planeswalker's Guide to Edge of Eternities. In Edge of Eternities, you'll take your first steps into the cosmic wonders of the Sothera system, where the infinite possibilities of space unfurl before you. Here, you'll meet familiar and strange faces, battle alongside interstellar faction, discover what lies at the heart of its Sothera, the Super Void. So, I'm kind of already curious, because Sothera feels like it's based on some sort of word I feel like I don't know, because I know soul is like sun, so that could be a possible inspiration there. And I don't know if like the rest of it is supposed to be. I know it was like Earth. So if you combine the word like soul and like mix around Earth, you end up with Thera. So that could also be it, but I don't know. I don't know what the Super Void is, and I'm curious to see if so it says a Sothera system. I don't know if that means literally one solar system or like a group of solar systems. Um, we recently shown a glimpse of Edge of Eternities. You can fully immerse yourself in the story right now, episode 1. I'm not gonna be doing stories on stream just because there's MTG has like official audio now, and also there's like up as you can go like I forget Voice of All's like other channel that he does his readings on, but there's other people you can go to read Magic Story. So I don't feel like I'm adding a whole lot. I don't feel like I'm well versed in the story to add like interesting commentary. And the rest of Edge of Eternity stories on mtgstory.com, or listen to the Magic of the Story podcast, where we'll be releasing audio narrations of this far out fiction. To prepare for your trip, you can read this Planeswalker's Guide to Edge of Eternity to learn everything there is to know about the Edge. So, is the Edge a specific part of the plane? Like, for example, Strixhaven, the popular belief, Strixhaven is not the name of the plane. The name of the plane is Arcavios, and Strixhaven is a specific college on Arcavios. So is the Edge a specific part of the plane, or is the plane known as the Edge? This isn't a critique. This is me just asking because it might be important to the story. Ready to take the stars? Edge of Eternities releases worldwide on August 1st, 2025. And Magic Multiverse will never be the same. I mean, I'm kind of curious about that since we already have the Omen Paths, which are like, I mean, I guess to be fair, people could travel different planes before the mending. So, I mean, how different you want to argue the Open Paths made things overall, like in the grand scheme of things, I don't know, but I mean, Open Paths were a pretty big shakeup, especially with such a hard rule that you only Planeswalkers could traverse planes for the longest time. You can pre-order the set now from your local game store. Yeah. And so here's some interesting. So Tezzeret, if you notice, for those who've been following, Tezzeret now has a new body. And last time we saw him, it was in the Phyrexia story, and I believe he got a Darksteel body. So as you look at Tezzeret, I wish there's a way to view it chronologically, but he clearly gets more and more of like a body. Like here, you see like a bit of skin, and then he's slowly like losing it. And so now the time we see him now is he's got not only is like he's a lot thinner. This one he's like a new Darksteel body, which is interesting. He's still got like his claw looks wicked. He's got like cool armor here. I doubt he's a part of any general. Did he lose his dreads? Am I going crazy? I feel like he had dreads before. I guess they cut the dreads because it was like a white guy with dreads. Also, maybe even paler somehow. Interesting. It's also something. It's also clearly something. This was kind of like the stuff glowing inside the bottle. It's kind of like the angel. I don't remember the name for it. The angel juice, the halo. Sorry, the halo from well, it wasn't competitive, but now it's kind of everywhere. So I'm interested about that too. They'll say he's collecting something. This could be the void. So already, so we know that the super void's a thing. So already we have an interesting piece of storytelling because this looks kind of like a black hole. So if someone else told me the super void doesn't show me this, I'd be like, yeah, that's super void. So it's a very clear thing where this is clearly a hologram, but he's clearly grasping and clawing at, which is showing like both his desire to conquer either the void of this planet or whatever this is, a star, some sort of planetary object, and then it shows like his influence, like how much like he's so much bigger than this thing, and he's trying to grab it, and how much power he wants to have over it. But even though this is just like a metaphorical hologram, so this ends up acting as an interesting metaphor for sort of what I assume to be his ambition in the story. He's trying to get something, whether it be energy or something literal. I don't know. As far as its color alignment, I imagine it's still blue black. I mean, it could be mono blue now. I'm not seeing as much black in this art, but there is a lot of purple, and purple tends to be used a lot. And so, blue, like silver also tends to be used a lot for blue stuff. So I imagine he is still blue back, but he's still got like a lot of purple, going on, a lot of blue here, and also his like new dark steel body looks like way thicker than his other body. Like he becomes more machine over time, but if you notice here, it's like what the heck? We're already getting colorless. Interesting that he's colorless in that one. We'll get to the spoilers at some point. We'll come around to the spoilers. I don't want to get too distracted. I'm trying to stay focused here. So here, like he has more of like a machine body, but it's obviously way thinner. This looks thicker and probably just meant to show like a physical representation, just like how much more durable and like solid it is. It's like really hard to destroy. I thought this was the spoilers. Um, Wait, so I guess this person actually might be colorless. Interesting that he still has like that halo effect in there. I don't know if that's like supposed to be halo, but it kind of looks like halo. I'm gonna try to avoid spoiling myself too much, but interesting that he's colorless. I guess to show that he's become so like machine, so robotic. He's like doesn't even need to worry about color lines minutes anymore. The universe in you, a pinnacle first contact primer. The edge, the annular universe. That's an interesting word. I've never heard of annular before. Annular adjective. And annular, annular, of relating to or forming a ring. The annular is diagraph of a microscope. So it seems kind of like annular is like a ring shape. So it's called the annular universe. So I feel like the universe is. I don't know if it's the idea that it's encompassing the multiverse somehow, like it's around the edge, because we know Jason was doing something with trying to like rework the multiverse, which may have like which may have either affected this universe or create something new, or if the idea is that it's annular in the sense that it's like around this so hypothetical super void. But we'll see. It's interesting either way. Oh, oh wow, they got little. Oh, look all fancy there. I got little definitions now. Oh, that's cute. All right. All Pinnacle associates, a person belonging to a Pinnacle member state, share the same fundamental assumptions about the universe. These truths are matter of Pinnacle education, popular science, and core assumptions made for starship engineering and navigation. Therefore, it is critical that there is a shared understanding of reality. Pinnacle calls this shared understanding of the universe and its truths the common agreement. It sounds kind of like familiar as a concept. I guess like just like a sort of like treaty. I get. I mean, it's not really treaty, but it sounds like giving me the same vibe as sort of like certain like that sci-fi trope of like a common treaty or something to get like different people like there's things like people everyone agrees on. The common agreement assumes that all subsocients agree that the basic matter of reality is a concert of particles and substrates, aether, mana, photons, quarks, and so on. So it's very interesting to see aether and mana referenced in the same vein as photons and quarks. So it's a very interesting exploration because people have been talking about this a long time. Like obviously, if you're not like a super hardcore nerd, those you may not think about this, but like uh people like on, for example, Radley's server or just like Warthos in general have always talked about like, well, what is matter? What is aether? Are they energy? Are they physical things that manifest? People talk about the metaphysics of like Magic the Gathering all the time. So it's very interesting to see that like thrown in the same vein as photons and quarks, like aether and mana as like this like physical substance that you could figure like experiment and test on with science. Um, most all sentient spacefaring species live on terrestrial worlds of various compositions, with some notable exceptions. The Ilvoy for insistence. That sounds Void reminds me of Void. So, oh wait, hold on, I'm just gonna explain. Who evolved on or in non-terrestrial cosmic environments. I'm curious about who. I'm sure we'll hear about it. Void reminds me of Void, so I'm wondering if we'll get colorless colorless stuff going on. Well, okay, the fact that Tezzeret's colorless makes me wonder because obviously there's the artifact stuff, but will we get more colorless stuff outside the artifacts? Like I know vehicles are probably gonna be a big thing because you have ships, you need your sci-fi ships. So I'm curious to see where this is going. These worlds, terrestrial, gaseous, and so on, tend to orbit stars of concentrated mana, aether, hydrogen, helium, and other trace gases, whose gravity and heat form and give characters to the solar system. So this is where something interesting comes in, where it's like a normal star. It's a lot of hydrogen, helium, mostly hydrogen, helium, whatever you, and then it seems so we can assume it's undergoing nuclear fusion. stars undergo fusion, right? Because like they get heavier. But there's mana and aether, and this is probably where the color alignment comes in, where it's like since the star has mana and aether within it, that gets like sort of like shot out as like radiation or solar storms or what have you, which affect the nearby solar system. So that's a very interesting idea. Outside just having just a normal star, each of these stars, the stars themselves might have color alignments basically, which will inform things nearby. Some of these constructions are perfect enough to sustain life. This looks like kind of like a Dyson sphere. I assume this is like okay, the star might be natural, but this looks like an artificial thing, like a Dyson sphere. But it'd be very interesting if there's like a naturally occurring like weird like organic or just like space thing that can happen in this plane where like things can form around stars like this. This kind of looks like a Dyson sphere though, like a conceptual idea of like a giant machine, which basically like you can put it around a star or ring them around a star or like whatever, and then use this like it's basically like solar power except bigger and fancier, and you can put it around the star to get all the energy you can. Space is vast. The gulfs between two given solar systems are best measured by time rather than units of measurements. Through kilometers, solar units, and so on are all useful at certain scales. Sublight speed interstellar travel is possible but impractical, and so most interstellar travel takes place at different lemma. Oh my god, big words. Lamele. Is that like an actual? Because this one isn't like highlighted like the other ones, right? This one's like an actual word. Uh, lamella, lama, lamella, a thin layer, membrane, or plate of tissue, especially in bone. A membranous folded.
Lamella.
So it's like a thin different so like different layers actuated by Pinnacle's Eternity column system. Interest system, sublight travel, commerce, exploration, and conflict are all quite common among Pinnacle species, and those at our periphery. In fact, intersystem conflict and commerce are found in founding concerns of Pinnacle, namely the cessation of the former and the encouragement of the latter. Okay, so what? Hold on, I gotta process this. Um, Okay, so they're trying to make less conflict, obviously. So they're not an evil. Well, at least they don't seem like an evil faction. They could turn out to be like, you know, a bunch of weird like Borg style, like join our cause or by force or something. But it kind of seems like they're like it seems more like they're like more of like the Star Trek Federation kind of thing. So far, like they're kind of nice. They're kind of like trying to unite people. Intrasystem, I think means within. So like interest like within this like hold on intra versus inter. Yeah, so intra refers to there's conflicts happening within these systems, and then inter would refer to the idea that like there's multiple systems conflicting with each other. Among Pinnacle member species, known space has several common names. More popular beyond the colloquial space in recent entries is the Edge or the Edge of Eternity. This colloquialism follows the revelation of the shape of the universe, a relatively recent development in Pinnacle history and a consequence of popular understanding of cutting-edge Pinnacle science. The entire known universe is not yet mapped, but its shape can be hypothesized via observation, which is kind of like how our universe works. We haven't mapped like there's a lot in the universe that we haven't mapped, and a lot of it, all the stuff we know about it or hypothesize about stuff is stuff that we haven't actually seen, but we can assume based on how the world around us behaves and how we've seen the universe. So, for example, we can assume that the universe is probably currently expanding based on like the way the galaxies move or seem to get farther away from us, which is like a very overly simplistic example. And it's probably like there for all I know, there could be somebody 5 years from now watching this who's like a physics major who's like yelling at me for getting it wrong. But that's as I understand it. Pinnacle using the full capabilities of its member states has determined with some confidence that the shape of the global universe, all creation outside of what is immediately able to be observed, is ring-like and toroid. So interesting. So it seems that referring to the plane as a ring is the plane itself. Although I don't hold on. I gotta stop talking like before I actually read what's happening. And a word angular. Along one arc of observable space, there is a subtle blue shift. Observation. Is this like a tint? A blue shift. Oh my god, these are some big fucking words. Okay. In astronomy, a blue shift is a decrease in electromagnetic wavelength caused by the motion of a celestial object toward an observer. Huh. Um, Observation toward the departure of all matter, space, and time eventually ends in a chaotic scramble barrier of howling. Combination of particles impossible to observe beyond. This is colloquially known. This is colloquially the chaos wall. So the departure point sounds like if you head to the center of the ring and try to go past the ring, you just basically hit like a barrier. I might be wrong, but the departure point sounds like what they're saying is like in the center of the ring. If you go towards the center, you eventually hit this chaos wall. So you can't like so your first instinct when you're in a ring is like, oh, you can just jump from like one side of the ring to the other by cutting to the center. It's like, well, there might be something in the center. It sounds like, oh shit, a void dragon. It's looking sick. Let's look at the art here. This looks like it's probably a lot of red here. Something in red line. I'm thinking, is it? Is this like a Niv Mizzet? Like, I don't think this is literally Niv Mizzet, but is this like a Niv Mizzet? Like, no, probably not. But it looks like a blue red dragon because the magic is very on the nose. So you have like a lot of red and then blue. It's very interesting how this is colored. Like this is colored almost like something's like shining on it. Even though it itself is the source of light, it looks like almost like something is shining on it. And then you have like the blue, kind of like in the background, which almost resembles lightning. And this kind of resembles like this kind of brings attention to the head. Like first of all, the head. This kind of acts as the eye, sort of, but it's very like mysterious, obviously, because it's not an actual eye. So even though it brings attention to what's happening, it doesn't show any emotion, so it's hard to tell what it's thinking, which adds like a very mysterious aura. And also you have like this like very bright blue acts as like a way to draw attention to like the head. It's almost like a halo in some like the old medieval art in a way. It's not quite as bright, but it's like definitely like getting halo vibes. I'm wondering how much of this is like Aether and like mana because obviously they're leaning towards that. Like if you look at like Kaladesh is like blue. Aether's commonly portrayed as blue. Whoops. Like Aether's commonly portrayed as like this in Magic is like usually like this bright blue. So I'm wondering how much of this is like in the background is also supposed to be like Aether. This is probably like some mana, like mixed with mana stuff. The reason I was wondering if this is Niv Mizzet if you go to Niv Mizzet, if I can spell his name right. Like if you look at Niv, like look, he's definitely matches like the. He doesn't look exactly like Niv Mizzet, but you can definitely see like the primary red. Sometimes he's portrayed with like kind of having like, especially his more recent cards like blue accents. Like you could definitely see this like being, and especially like with the way some of the strands come off, sort of like you could. I don't think it's Niv Mizzet just because I think the frill will be a lot more obvious. Like this is sort of frill shaped, sure, but I feel like if it was actual frills, you'd probably see like more red here. But it does remind me of Niv Mizzet, but it does feel like a very blue red card. Opposite the Chaos Wall are celestial bodies in the observable arc. Apparently appear to subtle red. Oh my god, so many. There's probably somebody fucking nerding out about this shit right now. Red shift and increase. Okay, the opposite of a blue shift. An increase in wavelength and corresponds decrease in the frequency of photon energy. The opposite change, a decrease in wavelength and increase in frequency energy known as a blue shift. I don't 100% understand what that is because I'm doing this on the fly, so I don't really have time to comprehend this. But you know, if someone wants to fill me in, feel free. That is appear to move away from the observer, indicating expansion. So is the idea that the center of the ring is shrinking and then the outside of the ring is expanding? Like the universe itself is expanding and the outside is like they're getting the chaos wall is shrinking, maybe? Pinnacle lacks the observational capacity to fully explore this edge of the space, and has accepted that it is so vast as to be functionally infinite. So I assume that's the outside of the ring. That's the only way that makes sense to me, at least. Unless I mean the entire universe can be expanding, but it seems to me like either the chaos wall is either static or shrinking. One of the two. It's either static or shrinking, which would explain the blue shift, and then the outside is growing bigger. In contrast to the hard border of the chaos wall, yeah. So the chaos wall seems static. This edge of space defies knowledge by outpacing observation. The border where observation crumbles, perhaps to provide a sense of structure to laypersons. It's colloquially called the quiet wall. The edge could exist between these two extremes: the raw, destructive power of creation and the slow, quiet death of entropy. Jesus Christ, that goes hard though. Yeah. So I suppose the chaos wall is creation, the quiet wall is entropy, metaphorically. The properties of known faster than light travel, FTL. This is how you know a fucking nerd wrote this. They put down FTL, and I approve. Travel in pinnacle space, coupled with recent disturbing phenomena across the chaos wall, have led to discussion among learned species of the possibility that the universe encompasses a second pocket universe within the borders of the chaos wall. Okay, so yeah. So I wish I could maybe. Okay, hold on. Do I bust up the sketchbook for this? So what it fucking sounds like is you have the chaos wall here. Make this way thicker. I'm doing a very bad job at this. But it sounds like you have the chaos wall like here, and then you have the outer wall here, and then that would mean this is known space, and then there's a possibility though that there's sort of like another space in here. So it looks like a donut actually. It looks like exactly like a donut. So the possibility is this is known space. This would be the quiet wall. This is the chaos wall, and there could be, because you can't cross to the chaos wall normally, or it seems extremely difficult, if not impossible to. There's another space in there. We're just gonna close that, and we'll redraw it later if we have to. FTL travel necessitates piercing the chaos wall, suggesting on its own that there must be some sort of space or other lamellae or a creation behind the otherwise hard reality barrier. So there might be like another layer somewhere. There is some further evidence of contents within, and behind the borders of the chaos wall, chaotic ejecta is the most common. I don't know what ejecta means. I'm learning a lot of new words. Who fucking wrote this article? I'm learning a lot of this shit. Material that is thrown out, especially in volcanic, or stellar explosions. So basically, supernovas, just random natural phenomenon, is the most common. Pinnacle has captured recordings of a handful of these colossal energy bursts and meaningfully distinct readings of etheric waste and other strange, fast-decaying particles, in conjunction with hard science. With hard science, Pinnacle understanding of the chaos wall and any potential space behind it is informed by Drick's myth that I'm gonna pronounce this wrong. Everyone's gonna see it. Lamellae behind the chaos wall are typically treated as hellish places, home of ancient beasts and devils that once raged across the edge of millennia past. Can't have a magic story without some ancient evil that could rise at any time. So this is very interesting. I did guess that Trident was a blue card, but this, I mean, at first look, this looks like a red card. I have to assume, okay, so while this card could be an enchantment. I'm guessing this card, okay, back up. So, Planeswalker, obviously, creature card, I think, because these two are the main characters. I don't know if they're both, like, if it references both in the card, like, if it's going to say, like, alien, human, or something. But one of these guys is definitely the main character. I'm leaning towards this guy, because he seems like he's in the lead, but it could be both. And this is a very interesting art, actually, because basically, this guy's head is highlighted by, like, the blowing up of the planet. Interesting blue background. Once again, I don't know. I'm curious to know if that represents Aether somehow, like this blue color. Then you got a ship. And then like interesting that they're on the planet and you can see space. But it's interesting how this almost seems like it almost like curves the way it's designed. I don't think it's literally doing that. That might just be the mountains, but it almost curves like this, like a bowl. And then in contrast, you have the planet here in space. And then this could be white card, but it could also be colorless. I could also see it being an artifact of some sort, maybe even an artifact enchantment because it's a star. This reminds me of an enchantment creature, sort of like the ones we see on like, dude, I don't know why the fucking names for the planes are. I remember Nyx, you know, the fucking Greek planes. Yeah, look, like usually when Magic does like this, like the creatures have like sort of like a star effect, like on like Daros and stuff. But they're also an enchantment. So enchantment aura, enchantment creature, etc., etc. And likewise, this guy seems like having like an enchantment effect in the sense that he's a bunch of stars, so they're probably gonna take this one looks like it could be a red card. It could be a vehicle, but it could also, I can also see it being instant or sorcery with like the explosion being the effect and then the plane flying out, and it's like called like hot maneuver or some shit. But my first instinct is to say it's probably a red card, but it could also be colorless because if the vehicle's the main character of sorts, it looks like the main character looks big, like in front of the explosion. Then and it's much bigger, like almost proportionally, it's longer. Then it could be colorless. I could also see it being red. Interesting. I mean, I don't really, like it's still definitely like a sci-fi ship. Interesting that this has like this here. I don't know if this implies that this is like an AI or something flying the ship. Like this almost looks like a camera lens, but it could just be like a camera lens for like whoever's flying inside. I mean, this could be the cockpit actually here. So it could just be a vehicle. And then firing out like green yellow beams. Which again, if I feel like it was red, they'd probably might go more ham on the red. Like red does use a lot of yellow and orange, don't get me wrong, but they probably like, you know, fiery beams or something, which these look more like lasers or plasma, like weird green yellow. To traverse the edge, unless one is blessed to be born with a body capable of withstanding the ravages of exposure to a naked vacuum, raw aether, radiation, and raw mana, one must be shielded. This could just be like sarcasm, like, yeah, unless you're like just like him, you're not gonna make it, which is basically saying nobody's gonna make it. But I'm wondering if this means that planeswalkers could, because planeswalkers can traverse the Planet Eternities. So I'm wondering if this is saying if you're a planeswalker, you might have a way in. But planeswalkers can't like planeswalk to like the same plane. Like if you're on a plane, you can't just go like I'm gonna planeswalk to a different part of the plane. You have to leave and then come back. That's supposed to get to teleporting. So I'm wondering if planeswalkers could their spark protects them or somehow or something. Um, I really doubt that if you're in the ring, you can like planeswalk straight into the pocket universe. You probably have to like do some like weird shit to finagle that. Typically, this shielding takes the form of a powered vessel, a ship that is outfitted for long distance. Long term, on the order of days, weeks, months, years, or in exponential cases, decades. Someone's having a lot of fun writing this. I can fucking tell. This is someone fucking nerding out. Travel, typically pressurized to a nominal atmosphere for the occupant species, sealed and hardened against external chemical, biological, and radioactive threats. Biological is interesting because it implies that there's things like living in the void of space that could get you. Um, Most ships also have some degree of kinetic shielding to protect against physical danger. Although in space between systems, the odds of collision between stellar bodies are astronomically small. This is actually scientifically true in real life too. Um, I mean, a lot of sci-fi tends to like hype up like things like gliding and stuff because you need excitement, but in reality, things are very, very, very far apart in space. Like for example, the asteroid belt. People imagine that as being like very cramped, and like there's asteroids like every 5 feet. But in reality, there is an asteroid belt, but it's like there's a lot of space between most asteroids. In reality, like it's a very big. Um, these vessels are propelled by an engine of some kind, generally nuclear muxite reactors, a rare fuel source that powers interstellar flight. I wonder if we'll learn more about that because muxite. Because we have like because we have like chrome mox. Um, who can forget Jack and the mox, the most important mox. So I'm wondering if this can apply because they do give you mana. So I'm wondering if this implies that mox is some sort of energy within the Magic the Gathering multiverse. Could be interesting. Though there are other forms of propellant that provides sufficient thrust to push it along through the vacuum of space. Some ships are built to fly in atmosphere, but most are only designed and equipped to fly in vacuum. Okay, interesting. So it's an interesting limitation to have for a lot of ships is that most of them, if you couldn't just fly them into the atmosphere, you'd like probably like take a drop pod or something. Ships range in size from single occupant vehicles to mighty vessels with crews numbering in the thousands. The most valuable and precious ships on the Edge are Eternity ships. Did I fucking update? Hold on. I think I forgot to update my stream information because I think people are gonna come here thinking it's a gaming. Reacting to Magic Edge of Eternities guide. Reading. Bam. 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 RPG. Magic. Gathering. RPG. Okay. Category. Okay. Sorry, I'm going all over the place because I'm very excited. Um, some ships are built to fly. The most valuable precious ships in the Edge are Eternity ships, a broad classification of ship that encompasses any vessel that has a mounted Eternity drive, typically in addition to its normal drive systems. Eternity drives allow ships to escape the rules of physics and time that govern the angular universe, and travel much faster than light via slipping into and out of the web. The web sounds like they're like the warp. What like I don't know how to describe like kind of like almost layer of reality that you slip into to travel like faster than light. I mean, I don't know if it's as dangerous as the warp in 40k, but it'd be interesting if it was. Most vessels in the Edge are not equipped with Eternity drives, so they must travel to an Eternity column and dock aboard larger pinnacle-flagged ferry ships that run regular point-to-point routes via the web. Yep. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I feel like people don't appreciate like some of the effort and the lore that goes into Magic the Gathering, even if it's not always consistent. Because like this is like a very interesting like concept for like a world building thing where it's like usually you see like because I know Star Wars has like a rule where it's like if you're a smaller if your ship is like below a certain size, it probably can't have a hyperdrive engine. But this seems to be like not all ships have an hyperdrive engine, but we can basically do is you can like dock to a larger one that does, and then that one could like teleport you now. So not every ship can just jump from place to place, but there are like points where you can basically take public transport. How to get there now faster than light travel. How does faster than light travel work? Faster than light travel requires three components. A vessel equipped with an Eternity drive, proximity to an Eternity column so that the column can transmit sufficient power to the ship, and diffuse whatever feedback might spike as a result and propel them into the web. So interesting, you can't just like enter light speed like anywhere and everywhere. Like in Star Wars, it kind of seems like the only limitation to where you can and can't hyperdrive is that you could hit like an asteroid or like a star or something if you don't know what you're doing. So like there's like specific lanes that are basically just like safe paths. It seems like you have to worry about like um if you just try to like jump anywhere, you might not have the power on your own, or something might go wrong. A Pinnacle code book is to correctly align one starting point and finishing point. So there's your like there's your sort of coordinates. With these three conditions met, a ship has the technical ability to travel faster than light. Among Pinnacle associates, faster than light travel is colloquially called warp or weft travel. I just made the 40k reference, the warp. Dude, I wonder if someone has to be a 40k fan. Someone of these writers has to be a fucking 40k fan, right? I'm on to you. I'll figure it out. It's either fucking Miguel Lopez, Jay and Elliot, which I know is I know he's like fucking on the Vorthos cast, Laurel Pat or Amanda LaFranca. One of you is fucking a fucking 40k fan, and I will find out who, and you will suffer. I mean, the 40k is all about suffering, I suppose, but we will join the Godfather Nurgle and his eternal blessings. You think I tweet about this? Hold on, I'm actually gonna tweet about this. This is funny. I'm actually gonna save it for later because I gotta focus up. I don't want to cover the P there. Okay. Um, when a vessel travels in this method, it plunges into the parallel liminal behind the chaos wall. Okay, so this is getting very metaphysical. So there's like a layer. Is the layer, I guess, the space, the hypothetical pocket universe everyone was talking about. So I guess what they're saying is that hypothetically the ships are traveling through this pocket universe that's in the center of the chaos wall to jump to the other side. They're cutting through the center. The Eternities or Weft, the latter is a term borrowed from Drix culture and then remerges at its destination point. An Eternity Drive is a second Eternity drives into Eternity ships. An Eternity Drive is a second propulsion system for ships that, when activated, emulates the function of a Drix Seam Ripper. Of course, I mean, who doesn't know what a Drix Seam Ripper is? Yeah, am I right, guys? Allowing the vessels in all being inside the field that Eternity Drive projects to slip out of real space and into the web. And so it seems kind of like the Geller Shield. I'm using a lot of Warhammer references here, but it feels kind of like the Geller Shield, I guess. Maybe. An incredibly important note about the Eternity Drives. Single-purpose and dual-purpose Eternity Drives do not propel a ship through the web. They merely open and close the door to go somewhere via the Eternities. One must be catapulted through points in via space via Eternity columns. So you aren't propelling yourself within while you're in the web. You propel yourself beforehand and you basically just coast along and whatever momentum you have. Which means, I wonder if it means you can get stuck on the web, right? Well, not like necessarily like you can't get out, but in the sense that you could get, if you don't have enough force launching you, you might not get all your way to your destination. So you might come out like sooner than expected. Also means I also wonder if it means you can overshoot. An Eternity column is a pinnacle constructed, free-floating, kilometers-long installation that is superpositional, meaning that regardless of your occupied layer of reality, columns are always in the same place. Jesus. Okay, hold on. I'm just processing that. Yeah, so I guess it seems like otherwise things can be in different places in relation to reality. So like a planet might be exist in the physical world in one aspect, but like maybe I'm not saying planets do exist in the web, but like maybe it's like something exists in the web like in a different area. The coordinate position of any column is constant. These anchor columns allow for ships with Eternity drives to be slung from column to column at faster than light speed. It's like cable cars on a track. So it sounds like you get launched, enter the weft, coast along, and then you come out of the weft and reach another column and get slung along again, and then repeat the process until you reach your destination. Eternity columns are all built, managed by Pinnacle, but the stations that spring up around them can be managed by local governments. This leads to a wide variety of quality and diversity among the station side habitats. Though Pinnacle does enforce minimum standards of life, diplomatic protection, and anti-corruption measures on the stations that we do not directly manage. In any case, the ultimate authority on any Eternity column is the Pinnacle, or is Pinnacle. So Pinnacle seems sort of like it's pretty clearly your Star Trek, like dude, I can't believe I keep thinking names with it. Yeah, it's very obviously like sort of your Star Trek. Not, you know what I fucking mean. It's the nice people overlooking everything. They don't. They could be corrupt, but so far it looks like they're pretty nice. Pretty interesting. I couldn't really tell you what card this is. It's probably like an enchantment card, I assume. Like it's for some sort of specific action because no one person is the main character here because they're all either looking away or to the side, so we can't really clearly see their face, and their faces are very not well detailed either because they're very far away. And then so in a way, the space itself is the main character, and tempted to say blue, but again, it could be like a colorless card. It seems like colorless might be a theme in this set because it's very silvery blue. And then like once again, this reminds me of like Aether, so it looks like maybe Aether in space, and then you get ships. I suppose the planet's a nice contrast. It's kind of red, and then something's going on over there, and other ships here. So very interesting. States and entities of the Edge. Pinnacle. Pinnacle was founded by. So I assume Pinnacle is White Land, right? Either Lighter Wildland or Wooper. Man, this is fucking amazing art. Holy shit. Sorry. Pinnacle was founded by an alliance of spacefaring species from the same system, who were made aware of each other's existence prior to their mutual space age via intersystem radio transmissions. Their first forays into space were stumbling but heroic. The early decades of their, so yeah, it's definitely reminiscent of like Starfleet and Star Trek and stuff. Of their decades of their mutual expansion through the solar system and beyond doubly so. This alliance encountered the Drix in their second century of expansion and integrated them into Pinnacle administration. The Drix share the secrets of faster-than-light travel with Pinnacle, allowing Pinnacle to develop the earliest versions of Eternity columns and drives, technologies that replicated the Drix beam worlds and seam rippers. Of course, who could forget about the beam worlds? This opened the whole universe to all member species of Pinnacle via ship-scale intergalactic FTL travel. Pinnacle has grown and undergone many dramatic changes to its foundation, but its core principle remains intact: to organize the universe under a single body whose mandate is peace, cooperation, and mutual prosperity. So like, it could be a bit suspicious, because I'm always like, how are you gonna achieve that? Are you forcing people to do that, or I mean, they seem like a pretty good deal to be a part of. But I'm just curious because under a single body is interesting. All species and civilizations who are signatories and members of the Pinnacle eschew this currency. Instead, they operate on Malomas, an economic system that prioritizes reputation, exchange, duties of host and guests, and other virtuous acts registered in public. So this again reminds me of Star Trek with the Alliance and Starfleet. There's also a very white line. So I feel like the Pinnacle is our white line faction. Like they care about morality. They're all about the needs of like the many over the needs of a few. Try to like not focus on like discourage greed and like money, etc., etc. Pinnacle day to day. Also, it's very interesting. I'm pretty sure this article implies this being written from the perspective of the Pinnacle. So I wonder if that means there's gonna be some sort of bias. And what the? I've scrolled way too far. So anyway, a lot of gold, a lot of rainbow. This could also be a Wooburg faction, which would be interesting. A lot of gold, a lot of rainbow. I mean, very ornate badge. I don't really have a ton to say. Notice how like all the colors seem to be present: blue, white, green, purple for black, and then gold. And then the shirts themselves are like kind of gray, so like the shirts themselves are pretty neutral. That's not maybe not give away like the color alignment. Um, the most common point of contact with the myriad peoples of the Edge encounter Pinnacle coalition constituents and officers is at an Eternity column, which are Pinnacle administered interstellar transit hubs. Ships looking to transit between the stars must depart from their nearest Eternity column. If they are not equipped with an Eternity drive, they dock with a Pinnacle ferry at the nearest Eternity column, which ferries non-FTL ships between the stars. So basically, it's like not a tow truck. You know, like those trucks that have like that carry the cars in the back. It's kind of like one of those. A car hauler. I guess that also might be more akin to call them like cargo ships, basically. Um, Pinnacle is a collective administrative entity. While it has a core system and capital worlds, its day-to-day management is distributed across known space. The members of Pinnacle Strategic Corps are decision-making individuals and persons of tremendous political power. These administrators, directors, emissaries, ambassadors, and other ranking personnel can all be encountered on Eternity columns in member systems or prospective member systems and attend to diplomatic, administrative, trade, and other soft power missions. So, like the Eternity columns seem very important. Besides just like the fact that they're transport, it seems like they're almost like a political / governmental censor for many systems, and also the Pinnacle itself. High-ranking agents of Pinnacle strategic cores are rarely encountered alone or without going through many layers of lower and middle level functionaries first. The personnel of Pinnacle tactical cores. So again, this seems like it can point to a white alignment probably. I assume where you get like the if the next one gets blue vibes, we'll see what happens. Pinnacle tactical cores, probably going to be shortened to PTC, is vast and composed of many thousands of types of specialists, officers, technicians, captains, and other agents who make up the rank and file of intergalactic administration. PTC personnel, as their core title indicates, handle Pinnacle's tactical presence. They fly ships, patrol stations, process documents, haul suppliers, repair stations, run medical clinics, cook food, and handle any other profession or task Pinnacle considers tactics, i.e., day-to-day work necessary to keep the lights on. The Illboy Bloom and the Earthros Combine. Interesting. So that's two factions in one. Also, a combine from the Simic Combine. A combine means like business, I think. Combine is like where you used to refer to like a business. A unite, merge, a group of people, companies acting together for a commercial purpose. So yeah, so the Simic Combine is basically like the Simic business. So, and then the Earthros Combine. So I assume the Illboy Bloom is the species, and then the Earthros Combine is like their faction. The Illboy are a species of large gelatinous Medusa form. There's one word, Medusa form beings. Okay. Medusa form. Medusa bodies are shaped like an umbrella with the mouth tentacles hanging down in the water. Huh. So is that okay? Also keep robots. Also giving a lot of blue vibes, mostly just because blue on the body, blue little robots, blue and white. Trying to get like a blue alignment. It's interesting how like this guy's clearly in focus for everything else. Like besides the robots, definitely like less focused. Like it's more like it's slightly more blurry, but like even the robots seem kind of like blurry in a lot of respects of like this guy's face maybe. So this guy's definitely the main character because everything else around him is kind of blurry, like out of focus. Almost like he might be affecting your perception somehow, but we'll see. Obviously very spindly, but like kind of like a squid or octopus. So like maybe not like a super tank, but definitely like the big head. A common sci-fi trope is like give them a big head to show how smart they are. So I assume this guy looks like a smart alien, like this trope of like a very smart, technically savvy alien. And like maybe smart, but maybe not like super like physically strong or anything. The Illboy are species of large gelatinous Medusa-form beings. Humans often refer to them as jellyfish. Wait, are they like they refer to like the Illboy jellyfish or the Medusa-form beings? Also, I guess that means that their creature type is probably jellyfish alien or something. Illboy evolved on a distant gas giant, growing and flourishing deep in the volatile, crushing depths of its core. There, they developed their fantastic cloud sculpting practice, an esoteric suit of technology. So cloud sculpting, once again, brings to mind blue, because blue is an association with like the sky and flyers. And I wonder if this means a lot of species will be flyers and stuff. Esoteric suit of technology and natural ability that blends psychokinetic manifestation. So this is kind of hinted at with like how big the head is. Like a lot of like common sci-fi tropes, like if you want to show like an alien or something that's like really smart or even moves stuff with his mind, you make its head really big, kind of like glowy, which helps bring attention to it. Also, like the light does hit its body, but it mostly hits the head, and also everything else around it's kind of blurry, which almost makes it seem like almost this is like affecting your mind, like it's forcing you to like pay attention to it. Its eyes might be closed. I can't really tell if it even has eyes. Quite frankly, it doesn't have eyes. Huh. Interesting. When psychokinetic manifestation with technological prowess to shape the very matter of their world, the gases that compose it into solid structures of determinable mass and shape. Interesting. So definitely it gives me sort of like Esper vibes, where like they're trying to shape the world around them almost. The Illboy use this power to construct vessels capable of ferrying them first to the higher atmosphere of their homeworld, then above the world, then to the distant stars. Here they encountered Pinnacle, whose agents had been drawn to the Illboy homeworld by a characteristic rate of transmissions, radiation signatures, emissions, and other markers of near interstellar civilizations. The Illboy joined Pinnacle, drawn to its long histories and vast libraries of pan-species knowledge. Once again, giving blue vibes because the emphasis on like knowledge as like your driving force, like philosophically, where they have become a promising member among the Pinnacle's scientific consensus arm. The Illboy commonly interface with humanoid species using emote screens. Aww. Because they don't have because like he doesn't have eyes. It's just like a mouth. And they probably don't show like a ton of emotion. Small face sized robots that are automatically interpreted interpret the Illboy wearer's speech, bearing and other non-verbal cues to accurately and immediately display the wearer's within an emotional state. So this implies this guy is like maybe this one's maybe he's malicious because this one's happy, this one's angry. So this might imply this guy's like gonna take pleasure in making you upset or something. I'm not 100% sure. Um, Notation. I have anticipated your curiosity into my former organization and summarized and appended the organization and workings of the Earth Throws combined below. Unfortunately, I did not have access to the high security wing at the core. That feels kind of like, dude, let me have access to the high security wing. That seems kind of like shade. But also interesting because these are like being written by people in universe, so I wonder if any biases will leak through. Ilvoy and the Sothera system are typically associated with the Earthos Combine, a private research group headquartered on Utheros. The Combine divides personnel into three branches: administration, research, development, and security. Research and development and security. Okay, that's one branch. Okay, this is interesting. Another one that I can't tell if this is supposed to be like blue or colorless because it's like a mostly. I mean, usually it's like you might go, oh, this is like Azorius, but this is like very white and then has purple and then blue. So either Esper or colorless maybe. Once again, very colorful backgrounds. I mean, space is like more colorful than people give it credit for in general because a lot of it is surrounded by light pollution in most areas. But space would look a lot more colorful if you could actually like if everyone turned off all the lights for like a day or something. But obviously it's also maybe even more colorful because I think Magic wants to include like the mana and like Aether in the background. Once again, a lot of blue in the background, which I think is supposed to be like the presence of like Aether, I assume. But there's also like some green here, which could be mana or something else, something akin to it. Very interesting. So here we have a very interesting ship. It's very different from the ship we saw earlier. The early ship we saw definitely more stereotypical, like metal ships, right? Like this is a metal ship. I didn't go over this art, but this looks like probably colorless. Very interesting. That I wonder if this is like the core they use to travel faster than light. And I got the orbs. It's breaking something. Interesting. It's like flying through something. It's like being shot at actually by these things. So this is very interesting. I wonder if it's like Tezzeret stuff. But anyway, this is like a very like obviously like more clunky metal ship, but this is like some weird like wispy shop, and given the lore we know, it's probably like their clouds, the clouds that have been shifted into like something physical. Which once again, very blue alignment, like taking something that's like non-physical, like the mind or spirit, and giving it like physical properties that it can be used, like turning gas into like something physical. Very blue aligned. It's very interesting. This looks more wispy. Like you have the main body here, but like the actual like thrusters are kind of like attached by like, these like branches. It has almost like I wouldn't say organic, but it's closer to organic merely because it's like a more natural substance. It's like clouds and not like refined and like processed metal. But there obviously is still metal here. Like this is like glass and what's going on here. There might be some like metal things here, like ships flying out, ships dropping out of here. Ships are smaller, more metal. So very interesting design. And obviously you can see the planet down below. I don't know if this is supposed to be their planet. I forget the name already. We know it's a gas giant. There's obviously a lot of clouds here, very like light blue and white. Um, but it seems like the idea might be that they sculpted the clouds on this planet to sculpt their ship, and now they're flying it to the sky. I don't know if this is like their home planet. Maybe we have two planets or moons, two bodies or something. And obviously, this is like kind of like the main character in the sense that there's like the background's more like it's more like uniform, like less focused. Like it's not like this is just like so big and bright and like clearly like sculpted. And this is more like random like clouds and like clusters in the background, and it's like way like so bright. And then you have like the planet here, etc. Ilboy of the administration branch occupy administrative and logistical roles in the Sothera system for the Earth's Combine. It is their job to ensure the smooth functioning of the secret installation on Utheros, the day-to-day functioning of other public upper atmosphere installations on the world, and maintaining the connections between the Ilboy population in Sothera and the larger body of the culture outside of the system. This reminds me kind of like of the Blue faction on Kamigawa, like Neon Dynasty. Like we know the Moonfolk also have like a secret society slash like base that not everyone can get into. So it seems like they have like a secret base, like almost like way like below, like deep in like in Earth's crushing gravity where most people couldn't reach. And then you have like their more like public base, which again ties into blue like has a lot of themes of like stealthiness, like being stealthy. Like if you just look at like the mirror, like blue's often portrayed as being like having like some sort of like stealth, like carrying information, covering stuff up, etc. Because like it's an emphasis on like knowledge, and so like your enemies can't hurt you if they don't know they're there. Um, blah, blah, blah. between the Illinois population Suthera and the larger body of culture outside the system. The administration branch Illinois can counted throughout the Solthera system, but the highest ranking personnel operate in the deep, the deep atmosphere Earthros installation. So yeah, deep atmosphere where not very many people could reach. The Illinois, the research and development branch are localized to the Earthros Combine installation at the planet's core, studying redacted. Okay, I'm sure that's fine. And R&D branches, R&D branch personal range from basic research assistant and sanitation technicians to esoteric field specialists and agnostic engineers. Fuck. Okay, I've heard of agnostic. What does gnostic mean? Esoteric mythical knowledge. Okay. The R&D branch has the largest. The research and development branch has the largest amount of personnel engaged in the most broad portfolio of work. Though encounters with R&D personnel outside of Earthros installation are exceedingly rare. Illvoy of the security branch can be found throughout the Solthera system with varying degrees of clearance, equipment, and mandates. In the Earthros installation, security personnel are equipped to keep infiltrators out, root out spies within, and respond to unknown threats. So again, giving like very blue, like secretive vibes. Outside the Earthros installation, security personnel can be encountered in Illvoy Alliance Station, patrolling the system near Earthros, and practically chasing down leads relevant to the work of R&D and administration on the Earthros installation. Monoism and Monasteriat, and the Susur Secundi mission in Vita. Okay, someone's having too much fun with this. Well, so once again, this looks like our black faction. I assume we're going in Wooburg order because very purple, very dark colors, black. This looks like a black hole actually, but interesting that you can see through it. But like for this person being almost destroyed and warped in some ways, almost as if hold on, there's a hand here. So I guess the idea is that maybe someone else is being pulled into the black hole. As you can see, like if you follow this, you can assume it kind of gets looped around, and here's like the remains almost getting sucked in here or sucked around here. But it's whatever it is, it's like so powerful, like a black hole, destroying the light around it. But unlike a black hole, you can see through it. And once again, this looks kind of like an enchantment. Also, this guy looks like he took some damage. Like he got blasted, he got pissed, he pulled this shit out. This guy got like sucked in here. It's almost like this guy, like the way this finger's lighting up, it's almost like he pulled this down and activated something. Like either his finger activated something or he dragged it like along this as like some sort of device. He also looks very pale and like his nose bleeding. So again, looks like he's been in the fight. Looks like he had like his shit blown off and was very pissed about that. But again, this looks like another enchantment creature just because it has like the little star effect that we see on planes like Theros and also what apparently this plane. And this plane probably is going to have an emphasis on enchantments. I imagine enchantments and artifacts, or at least enchantments and vehicles. Monoism is an ancient unitary faith compounded by insular and esoteric governing body. The monasteriat, though the faith is uniform and its commanding Congress is centralized, monoism is not a single species faith. Monoism competes with sumanism, the faith of the sum, to be worshipped, to be the most widespread faith in the pinnacle space, featuring at any given moment a fair claim on the greatest number of practitioners, physical sites, and client worlds. The faith represents a panstellar, pantemporal uncertainty that is grounding in the myriad of the edge. Interesting that such a big emphasis on faith, because usually that'd be like the white faction. I don't know if this means this will be a black and white faction, but if these are like more monocolored factions that lean towards more one color, it'd be interesting that like the black line faction is the more religious one. Not that black has never used religion in the past. For example, the Orzhov, like it definitely leans into it sometimes if it gets what it wants. It's just interesting in comparison that like we live in there's potentially a plane that has like a religious black faction, but like a less seemingly religious white faction maybe. But I'm curious about that. I mean, the fact that it's like insular also could make point to like black as like sort of like anyone can join as long as you can prove you're made the right stuff, and like it's every man from like the religion's like kind of central like individualism maybe, like even focused on the worship from one person. The monasteriat is a congress of hundreds of elector monks who administer monoist doctrine and North Star civic direction from the fate's capital at the lip of Susur, the photon collar that rings point prime. Of course, I mean, who doesn't know about the photon collar that rings point prime? Am I right? These first and most holy super void of the monoist faith. The lip of Susur is what remains of the star that birthed point prime. Susurians, the species that divined the first tenets of monoism and found the faith, emerged from the lip of Susur from the gravitationally torn carcass of the star. They're individually massive beings who lens light around themselves and are born with inherent command over the trembling gravitational threads of the annular universe. So are these? Is it them or because okay, so this guy might be one, but he looks very. I mean, it's a common trope, sci-fi trope to have like very human, but he looks kind of big, like look how big his hands are. So that might be one, and in that case, it makes sense that this person, I'm assuming that she could be non-binary or something, or he or they. I'm assuming this person, um, is also one, but you also have like these people, so it seems to be working together to create some sort of like gravitation, like black hole effect. So very interesting. Also, once again, probably black line, just because look how much like magic is not subtle, and look how much like fucking like black and like dark purple they have on like all their shit. Like, which is like a very like little bit of gold to show like a little bit of like prestige, I guess. Um, I don't know. This kind of gives me the vibe of like a could be a creature. Okay, so this is probably a creature. This gives me the vibe of a creature because you can very clearly see the face. Like this is the main character, vehicle, creature. This I can't really tell. I can't tell if it's like an enchantment. Like it could be like a saga or an enchantment, like telling the story of like the birth of these people, or like someone emerging out of like dying over to the star. But it could also be like a creature, like coming out, like they're all worshiping it or something. Um, most modern day monoists are human. The core practice of the faith is centered around the communal recitation of their messianic figures' ongoing transmissions. Interesting, typically in the form of ecstatic polyvocal choirs. The immortal faller, a figure of many names, though this is the most popular, can be observed approaching the center of every super void, known as the 0 point, beyond which in inevita the promised future awaits. Okay, so it seems like they're worshiping something that's in the center of black holes. The voids might be the black holes. And there's and we do know that just generally in real life that like things like black holes and stars can release like radio signals. So it kind of seems like this is what that's based on. Like basically they caught some sort of radio signal and started worshiping it. The immortal follower is the name of the savior and first prophet of the monoist faith. He is represented in the monoist text as the subscription pronouns he, him, always capitalized. Wait, so he's he, him, but they're always capitalized? That's really funny. My pronouns are he, him, but you have to capitalize it. Um, the Secret and the Well is the name of the book reportedly written by the immortal follower himself. Unlike the Theorem and Unending and Final, it is written in the first person. This book is the first volume of the Plummet Record. Theorem, Unending, and Final is both the name of the follower's song that monoists work to interpret and the ever-expanding second volume of their books of faith. The theorem is assumed to be finite and can be heard issuing from every super void yet discovered. This is the second volume of the Plummet Record. Okay, so you have the book, the song that's coming out of like all the black holes. The Plummet Record is the name of the collection, 2-volume holy text by monoism. So I guess monoism emphasizes also worshiping one. This might be where the black alignment comes in, like the idea of focusing like one person and not like a group or like society. Okay, well maybe this isn't just like because this also is like a white line faction. So I'm wondering if the pinnacle is like Wooburger colorless. Well, I'm getting too ahead of myself. I'm getting too excited. The 0 point is the destination of the follower, center of point prime, which is reflected in every super void yet encountered. So this sounds like some sort of black hole. Inevita is the perfect future that lies beyond the 0 point. Monoist doctrine teaches that Inevita has already occurred, and that the work of the faith is to accelerate its arrival, also known colloquially as next eternity. So I wonder if that's something to do with the expansion of the universe. So it seems like their universe, like our universe, is expanding infinitely somehow. So I'm wondering if this has to do with like a similar idea. There's also like the idea of like the big crunch, which might also be inspiration here, like the idea that the universe will collapse back into a single point. So that might also be what's like the 0 point, like everything will turn back into a 0 point. Monoists justify their action through self-evidence. Their prophet exists in every super void. Inevita is already resolved, merely awaiting the advance of local time. Thus, monoists conclude, so too should they exist in every land of the void. If the annular universe did not want monoists to propagate its stars, then super voids would not hold at their core the immortal form of the faller. Thus, for monoists, they are and they shall do as they shall. That seems like a bit of a not the most convincing evidence. It's just kind of like it's kind of just like a point and look, but like I'm not 100% sure. I'm just gonna see if there's any content on Twitch. Notation. That is a lot of words to say. And entropic death cults. I'm kind of on this guy. I'm kind of with this person. Is the follower real or just some phenomena to which they retroactively ascribe meaning? Menon. Reach out to our local monoist contact and see what we can find out. I've had enough of Wimpy gods. It's so mean, but like, it's kind of what it sounds like. Um, hold on, let me take a drink real quick before I get on to the next part. Oh fuck, the Celestial Palatinate. Gotta have your Star Paladins and the Sunstar Free Company. Interesting. This also looks like a white line faction, so it makes you question if the Pinnacle is either white line, colorless, or like Wooburg or something else entirely. Wooburg would make sense to show like all the different like parties and philosophies coming together as one, but once again, I'm assuming white line because white loves like the fucking shining halo effect. Look at this light. This is like almost like medieval light, like a medieval light source, like shining on the head, shining on the cape. The axe is even white. Um, I mean, the white line was used a lot of gold. This is obviously silver and white, very bright gold highlights. A little bit of black for accent. This is obviously the main character because I don't know if these are even people. These could be robots or just pieces of armor, but you can't see their faces, but you can see the face of this person. So that's all very interesting. Like some sort of marble floor, and their face and upper like shoulder up is highlighted by like the light. It's also very interesting. It's very symmetrical. Like you have this, and then one armor on each side, and another arm each side. There's a little bit of like discrepancy in like their feet, like and how they move, but like overall very symmetrical. So creates a feeling of like evenness and balance almost, um, and like order. The Celestial Palatinate is a mighty state comprised of many species, systems, and worlds, with humans being the most numerous of its subjects. This is probably the White Line faction because humans just tend to be. I mean, they tend to be Wooburg in general, but they slightly lean towards white and magic. The Palatinate is an opulent dynastic absolute monarchy under the command of the Divine Emperor, the Regent Maximum Taman the Fourth. Oh God, is this 40k? Are we 40k'ing this shit, bro? Hold on, I got it. This is like a okay. Hold on, someone fucking here is a fan of 40k. Someone writing this. So we're just gonna. Wait, are we getting an evil White Line faction again? I'd be down. I'm just curious. Compare superior to the mirror state of the Palpinate. So this is giving like 40k the God Emperor vibes. Interesting. Okay. Sumanism is the state religion of the Celestial Palatinate. So that's what we got. That's what I was mentioning earlier. Is it a syncretic faith? Okay, I don't know what that word means, so we're just gonna do a little bit of a characterized or brought about by a combination of different forms of beliefs or practices. So it's like a combination of like different practices. With a living leader, the regent maximum of the Palatinate, and many holy sites distributed across the world and stars in its territory, and the many holy sites distributed across the world and stars in its territory. Interesting that it's like on the stars too. I wonder if it's like literally on the stars, like a Dyson sphere or something. At its core is the worship of the grand Cosmocordons, articulated through a living prophetic compass called the Bright Sum. The Bright Sum is a doctrine embodied in axiomatic behavior and comport. Self-evident or unquestionable. Okay, well. It is the figure that remains at the end of the celestial Palatinate's faithful tabulating and calculation of the data of the universe. By following the guidance provided to you by the sum, one can follow the righteous path toward increasing and refining the sum. The sum is self-constructing, but it is necessary for the faithful to compile and advance it. So like you're kind of building, on top of it. Also, once again, probably a white line. Like there is like a lot of black here, but also like a lot of yellow and gold, and like the cape fluttering, and it's the same character. Well, I mean, it looks older, maybe. The hair looks similar. I don't know if this is supposed to be the same character, but I mean, they got the axe too, but like with an axe. I wonder if they're like the same character related somehow. Um, So interesting, like this also like they made the guy behind them like really big and like have a lot of dark colors, so they stand out with like their bright clothing in comparison. That's very interesting. Um, I wonder if this is like one of those gravity beings. They mentioned how the other beings like were generally very big, so I wonder if it's like one of these guys. Founded and it makes sense because their religion might conflict with each other. Um, Founded before Pinnacle and the introduction of faster than light travel, the Palatinate is ancient among the interstellar states. The Holy Empire's own history is rich with eon-spanning epics, unification wars, schisms, and dynastic class. Again, this okay. I know this could like apply to, like any like society that's existed for very long, but I'm getting a lot of like someone really wanted to like give you some Warhammer vibes a little bit here. Its divine investiture is a relatively recent development in the Palatinate's history, a consequence merely once again consequence merely centuries old at the conclusion of a series of unification wars. Again, could be like the Roman Empire, but the Imperial Man also takes a lot of information, like also takes a lot of inspiration from the Roman Empire. So like, I'm getting a lot of 40k vibes. Power is now held by the Regent Maximum, but the Regent's will is enacted by many Cosmogrands, the nobility of the Celestial Palatinate. Um, the Cosmogrands are near absolute monarchs, subordinate only to the Regent Maximum, each ruling at least one world. The realms of Cosmogrands provide the economic and military strength of the Palatinate. The power on an individual Cosmogrand has in the affairs of the Empire is tied directly to their command, the size of their holding and development levels of the world under their rule, the strength of their navies and number of knights and so on. Ooh, knights. And consequently, Cosmogrand are not only determined to expand their holdings but develop them. It is better to be rich in one developed world than to be bereft with a vast clam of empty space. So, I mean, interesting. The knights definitely being them out. I don't think they're Jedi, but like the idea of like a sci-fi space knight is a very common one. So honestly, but here we have like definitely some sort of creature. Like these two are definitely creature cards, and so is this one. This one definitely hardens like the white alignment, and obviously these ones look kind of like almost like more like agility based because this guy's like more like decked out in like thicker armor, but it's probably like more like a spacesuit, more likely. And, like you probably put this like over this, and like white clothing, gold accents once again, and probably the white alignment. Even the background has like gold, and might be white. It looks kind of like white and like silver and gray. So with a ship, obviously like the attention brought to them by like the light shining. You can see this face, so he's definitely the main character. And the ship is like way less detailed. Like you're focused on the ships like flying out into the void. Even though it's very interesting because like the circular effect here, which is kind of like almost like a target the ships are aiming at as they leave the hangar. Um, Cosmogrands, like the Regent Maximum, are unitary figures that are invested with divinely granted state power. Below the Cosmogrands, there is a vast structure of nobility divided into parallel civic and church stations and obligations. There are far too many titles to note, but of notable fame or notoriety are the knights and lords of the free companies. The Palatinate Palatinates cause mercenary military forces. Okay, so they're free companies because they're mercenaries. There are numerous free companies ranging from a single ship and its crew to organizations that are effectively state armies for mighty Cosmogrands. Of these larger free companies, the Sunstar Free Company is the current favorite regiment of the Regent Maxim, considered in the Palatinate to be a blessed regiment and the de facto state army. Um, Once again, well, the White Alignment loves fucking star and sun imagery, so Sunstar, you can see it's kind of everywhere. So, like, even the White Mana symbol has a star on it. I mean, it has the sun on it, but it is also a star. The Sunstar Free Company operates across multiple periodical campaign fronts. Relating to a church of pairs, so religious. Um, Fielding hundreds of thousands of full-titled knights and millions of foot soldiers. So the difference between like full-titled knights and half-titled knights or something. And millions of foot soldiers drawn from the Palatinate worlds. Millions of again 40k vibes, like fucking. You have like your fucking cool, like probably almost super soldier, like badasses, and you have like the fucking common man who's just like probably getting churned into like shit by like the meat grinder that is like the universe, drawn from the Palatinate world. Sunstar is a conventionally structured free company and the model upon which most others are constructed. Peasants, laypersons, artisans, and citizens of Cosmogrand holding, from which Sunstar recruits, join at the lowest tier of enlisted soldiers, serving as aptitude and favor dictate. Some find their way into the free company's naval forces. Most remain in the ground forces, and vanishing few join the noble children of lords and other peers in the ranks of the squires. Squires serve knights, acting as their attendants, foot soldier servants, and personal guards, as they are trained by the knights to possibly one day enter title for themselves. Knights are more mighty individual combatants, invested with the divine nobility by their title's grace. Each in command of a small complement soldier, and mentioned to a squire and an honored voice in the hierarchy of the Sunstar Free Company. So it seems like a very overwhelming force to deal with, though. And once again, I feel like it's the sort of like maybe playing up maybe potential conflict between this faction, the Palatinate, and the Moinoisin, because it looks like Moinoisin looks like a lot of purple and black, and it seems like whenever they're fighting something that's really purple and black, that maybe this is like more just like black and like. But I mean, even the Moinoisins are like bits of like gold. But so very interesting. We have a sword here. I think it's a creature card, but just like a more like a generic creature. Like nobody's the main character here. It's more like the idea of like this kind of soldier because they're all faces covered. Even so, this one's highlighted by like this cool ass fucking sword, and then you have a shield behind them, which is also highlighting it. And it looks like they almost like cut through here, and then you have like blasts from something firing back at them, and this acts as a sort of frame to draw your attention. Like there's not as much going on here except for like piping and like less detail like metal. But once you focus like here, it's almost like a window. And then once again, there's not much going on in the background, but these guys themselves are like the main focus. These people. And then there's almost like a different environment behind them. So I don't know if it's like they're getting onto a ship or like if it's like because this looks like maybe potentially some sort of large structure or maybe even like an environment in the background. The Sunstar Free Company is an insular and dogmatic cause mercenary group, distinct from mercenary groups who work on gift debt among other Pinnacle states or for money when dealing with stellar nations outside the purview of the Pinnacle. The Sunstar Free Company lends their strength to causes that align with the directives of Regent Maxim. Their tenets of faith, Sumism, or the aims of one or more cosmogrands of the Celestial Palatinate. It seems I will never be free of hypocritical fools with their boots on the necks of non-believers. A constant irritation in the multiverse, and apparently here as well, with their tunnel vision on the death culture. With their tunnel vision on the death culture, they should be easily enough avoided. So yeah, I did mention how I felt like this is probably emphasizing some sort of conflict between the different religions, and yeah, so this was like a white versus black sort of thing, and it looks like they have like a heavy conflict with each other as both like that make the major religions. Although I will admit, this faction definitely seems more shady with all the mercenaries and shit, but other factions also shady. But this one seems more shady, or at least more like aggressive in their spreading of their doctrine. The Entropy War, on the war ripping through Pinnacle space. Oh god. Okay. This was kind of like a creature. It could be an enchantment, but I'm saying creature because we can see the face. This is like the main character, obviously. And attention brought to like the head, like this kind of sprouts into almost like a halo effect for the head. And when I say halo, I just mean like kind of like light, like bright light coming from behind. And then next thing is brought to is like these swords, like almost like these swords are like so powerful that they're creating like galactic, some sort of like galactic waves or like affecting the physical universe itself. Like they're exploding out. This one's like, kind of like exploding out with energy. This one's like more cooler, but like more calm and collected. Like it's sort of like waves rippling across the universe. So the perspective gives like the illusion that this guy is almost like the center of like this galactic event that's happening. Like they're doing some like big shit, and then you have like interesting fact you have like these planets like with this weird like alien fruit shit, and then less detail like here. But they're clearly sitting on some sort of ground. But that's less important than like the whatever big shit's happening behind them. And whether they're literally causing this to happen or metaphorically causing this to happen is like up to you. It could be literally causing this to happen, but it could also be like a sort of just to represent sort of like their power, like the power over the universe behind them. The Celestial Palatinate and the Monastery are at war. Yeah, okay, makes sense. The Sotheric system is another front in an interstellar religious conflict between their opposed faiths. Currently, the possibility of reconciliation appears non-existent. Sumist doctrine is incompatible with monoist theory. The tenets are diametrically opposed to two immovable objects standing as violent roadblocks across the paths of either faith. The monoists seek to expand their super void holdings to accelerate the approach of Inavita. Okay, I mean, that sounds dangerous because super voids sound like black holes. That sounds dangerous. The Sumas see Inavita as anathema and aim to reignite the recently collapsed super voids via the use of colossal star reviving weapons called Horizon Javelins. So once again, points the idea of like maybe a black alignment versus a white alignment type conflict. In a way, at least the white side is pretty obviously like they have an emphasis on the sun, the stars. They want to reignite them, they recreate them, preserve things. The black side is more like interested in more like in depth. But I mean, I'm curious to see how they're black aligned more in the cards themselves because they kind of give like weird like black green vibes, like Golgari vibes. But Celestial Palatinate also, obviously their ships are very gold. This reminds me of like the Light Civilization from like Kaijudo and Duel Masters. If you've ever seen those. Those are also owned by like Wizards of the Coast, I believe. Especially like the battle spheres and stuff. Probably more Enforcer, but that's wrong. That's not a good example one because that's like one of the exceptions. But I think I'm thinking more Enforcer. But please let me click on you. But yeah, like they kind of remind me like gold flying shit. They kind of do give me like the vibe of. I'm not sure if it's an inspiration, but like anyway. I'm gonna command. Sorry, I'm getting distracted. What the hell? Anyway, so that those are kind of gold like flying drones, but I don't like their drones. I think they're just ships. These ships are obviously very gold, very like trying to convey it's white, and then they're attacking some sort of like super void. Um, once again, interesting spiral shape. This is almost like a giant eye. Am I supposed to interpret it as some sort of Death Star? I don't know. Um, again, this is probably I don't know if this represents like a specific vehicle because it kind of looks like the vehicles all feel kind of like equally important because this one doesn't feel like as censored, like as big as I would think a main vehicle would be. It could be a vehicle card, but I can also see it being like an enchantment or like some sort of like instant or sorcery that says like astro maneuver, and then like it gives you like your creatures like flying and then like +2 or something to your vehicles. Um, the Sothera system is a pivotal front in this battle. When the Monastery plans to collapse and create their 1000th Super Void, to counter them, the Palatinate has dispatched a force of Sunstar Free Company Knights to drive the Monoicids out and deploy one of the javelins to prevent Sothera's total collapse. Both sides see Sothera as a critical background, not just for actual strategic objectives they wish to accomplish, but for spreading propaganda as well. Okay. Um, Menon. Menon. This document is woefully out of date. The Southern Super Void is evidently out of every viewpoint in the system, and the Javelin is in the system. Terminate our field agents who see who sent you this. Says I won't tolerate. Who the fuck is this? Are we just gonna get a lore drop on this guy? The Drix coordinates. Um, the Weft Hunters. Interesting. Okay, this is a very interesting example of the Weft. The Weft definitely gives like some sort of like almost like 40k warp vibe in the sense that it's like not necessarily a physical thing. So I'm curious as to how it's going to see depicted. This looks like a depiction of it. I don't really know what species this guy is. It's kind of hard to identify colors. Again, looks kind of like could be a creature, could be sort of enchantment if this is like the main focus. Where like look all this crazy shit happening, almost like they're piercing the veil of reality and they're seeing like different things happening at once. You kind of see evidence of like all the colors almost. Like we have kind of like purple, like maybe a little bit of black, maybe a bit of red fire, icy blue, a little bit of gold, white, and then green. That's kind of hard to tell though. Um, their hand is obviously like it's almost like parting water. Like if reality and time or like something like that's flowing like water, this person is parting it, and then it's almost like also it's almost like I guess it's more accurate to describe it sort of like aerodynamics. Like it's like air, like how you might see air displayed like in a wind tunnel, and then they're like piercing it. Like if you put a guy in there. The Driss are species that can travel faster than light via weft walking. It's planeswalking maybe comparison. They can move through the weft while remaining anchored to reality, collapsing all of space and time to a distance no greater than a single step forward or back. Drix society predates Pinnacle by millennia. Drix are highly solitary people, despite their so I assume this is a Drix. Solitary people, despite their ability to connect across seemingly infinite space, or rather, because of the ability to connect whenever, wherever they value their privacy. Okay, that's interesting. The largest concentration of any Drix typically encountered are groups of no more than a dozen who tend to be related by kin, culture, or profession. They maintain their culture across space and time by holding congresses on beam worlds, plans set by fate or some other cosmic engine act as dimensional anchors. Okay, so beam world isn't like a like you couldn't look like a world. It wouldn't look like a beam. It would look like a normal world, but it's like an anchor somehow. Weft walking. So this seems like a kind of like a like not to be mean, but like shittier planeswalking in a way. Like it's like planeswalking. I mean, I wouldn't say shittier because in the fact it's probably more useful if you're like moving on the plane Like planeswalking takes you off to and from the plane. If you actually want to teleport on the plane, you probably want to web walk. Is a Drick practice that actuated by a suit of technology, ritual utterances, practices, and rites allows them to travel faster than light without the need of a ship, eternity drive, or eternity calling. I'm wondering this thing that only the Dricks can do because like some biological factor, if anyone could hypothetically do it, like it's a technique you could learn. Beam worlds are anchored locations in space, superpositional worlds that remain constant regardless of the state of given reality. Interesting. The Dricks congregate on them and keep their locations as close to guard secrets. So you couldn't just like eyeball on top of the beam if it's a beam world if you're like a normal person. A beam world is basically just like, so I guess this would imply that when you're traveling through the Weft, some places in the Weft are different or like in different locations than they are in real space. Um, the drift ability to Weft walk is drawn out and magnified by various augmentations, genetic manipulations, rituals, or rites, which they learned from an ancient artifact that predates the Fomori Eldrazi conflict. Okay, that's a huge drop. So Eldrazi are back, by the way. We'll come back to that in a second. The fabric of all being. It is kept on the Drix beam world hidden from other species, contains the fates of all things, and was instrumental in unlocking the knowledge of Weft walking for the Drix, some of which they shared with Pinnacle to guide the Alliance in the development of Eternity Calms and Drives. Okay, so interesting. The Eldrazi are back. If you don't know what the Eldrazi are, they're basically just like Lovecraftian-esque eldritch beings that kind of like they exist sort of outside planes, and they kind of reach inward to them. So the physical manifestations you see aren't like the actual like bodies. The actual bodies are like non-physical things that exist outside of with reality you can see. And then Eldrazi have a habit of like corrupting and like shit, like basically I don't think they're like, I wouldn't describe them as malicious, but they are not good to have on your plane. So they have a habit of corrupting and devouring and whatever on your plane. I would describe them more like forces of nature, even though they're very clearly like monsters and shit. Like they don't, I don't think they're like evil as we would understand it. They're kind of like beyond human comprehension, is kind of what they're going for. And they also tend to be very colorless. Like even the colored ones, you tend to have like the void and stuff. So I'm wondering if this set will have a colorless theme, maybe, and if we'll get any Eldrazi cards. But the thing is, okay, so there's Eldrazi Titans, who we only know there's three. We only know three. There could be more, but as far as we know, there's three. And then there's like Eldrazi drones. So I'm wondering if we'll see more drones or something. I'd be very surprised if we saw another Titan, but it wouldn't be impossible. I just would be very surprised. We also might not just get any Eldrazi because it's like an event that happened in the past. And the Fomori are also like a more recently introduced like ancient race, and it's very interesting because it's like the first time we're hearing about the Fomori Eldrazi conflict. So I'm curious. The Fomori are like an ancient like interplanar like a child between planes like civilization before they mysteriously vanished. Menon. I want all information on this Fomori Eldrazi conflict and all pinnacle research into the Eldrazi immediately. All other tasks are secondary. To think I might find the answer that has eluded me for so long to that damnable vault all the way out here. Okay, I wanted to. This isn't Jace, right? Because like they're talking about the vault that appeared at Thunder Junction that had loot in it, but maybe it's like just the same kind of vault because if it's built by the Fomori, it could just be like the same like schematics, but it could also be like they just make. Also, these are giving kind of like colorless vibes. Like there is blue, but I'm assuming the Drix might be colorless. Maybe. They could also be green or something. I wouldn't be philosophically it wouldn't make sense if they were green, but they could also be colorless. To represent sort of like their enlightenment, like beyond like normal Magic the Gathering colors. And if there's not like 5 equal factions, then there might be like they might not be evenly split. It might be like a Wooburg faction, a colorless faction, and like some weird combination like of like the other colors. Like one might be like 3 colors, and the other might also be 3 colors, like overlap or something. Anyways, it's very interesting because this looks like I'm assuming it's some sort of like instant or sorcery because it looks like a certain specific effect. Even though we have a main character here, we have this person almost like it might be a flicker card. I wouldn't be surprised. Like this person like getting cut in half, but they don't appear harmed. There's no blood. It's just kind of like this interesting smoke, and it's almost like 2 worlds coming together. Like if you stylize this, you can see these as celestial bodies and 2 worlds, which represents the Fomori's ability to like, walk from one place to the other. So in that regard, you could show this as like okay, here's one world, and this person is like kind of like trailing and destroying themselves into another world and by taking just a simple step, or vice versa by stepping backwards, because you can interpret it either way. They're either stepping forward or stepping backwards into some other world, which makes sense with Fomori. And then we have a very interesting like space, like the void, and then there's like a very interesting like line effect, which is maybe showing like the influence or the power. Again, I wonder if there's like the blue supposed to represent like Aether or something. It also kind of reminds me of like the shade of blue that's used for like Ugin and like other colorless cards. Like it's a very specific shade of blue. I don't know how to describe it. It's kind of more like a blue-green. Maybe I'm just crazy, but like a very specific shade of blue. I feel like it's used for like Ugin stuff sometimes. I'm wondering the idea is like they're colorless because they have like the same shade. Interesting, they have like a glowing bit on their head. Makes me wonder if it's like the idea is like a mental, like the emphasis like the mental aspect of this. Um, they use Seam Rippers to amplify, direct, and actuate with walking. Drix Seam Rippers are magnifying anchors. They enhance the innate Drix ability to weft walk while anchoring them to their home lamella. So it seems like weft walking is like a Drix exclusive ability, like done by biology. The reality of their home world, the reality of their home world. So I guess Drix and Lamella is like the anchor world of their home world. If a or beam world. If a Drix ignores or is separated from their Seam Ripper for too long while they are weft walking, they will tumble into the manifold substrate of web space and bearing miraculous luck, be lost forever. Well, I mean it's classic like warp travel shit. Be careful. Um, again, I assume this is a creature. Everyone's cheering as this person runs. This person's like as this person enters, everyone's very excited about this person coming. Interesting purple effect in this thing, and they're coming out like the portal. Obviously, they're like emphasized by the portal itself, like kind of framing the character, like all the glow, the background. These look kind of like downturned ears. I don't know if they're ears of growth. I don't know how to interpret that. And you're seeing like almost like biological effect like on their clothes, like the way it's like sort of like branched together. Um, again, it's kind of hard to identify color because it's not as clear. Because usually magic is very on the nose because you could say, oh, it's black because they added purple, or it's green, or it's like maybe blue, or maybe simic. And I don't know, maybe this might be a colorless factor. I'm not 100% sure. In exchange for the secrets of FTL travel, the Drix were given unilateral authority to address extraversal ejecta, most commonly residual Eldrazi contamination from the Fomori Eldrazi War, of which the Drix had allied with the Fomori before this appearance millennia ago. Since the end of that age and the remission of the Eldrazi tide, Drix have remained consummate Eldrazi hunters, using the fabric of all beings to identify and assassinate critical Eldrazi potential beings. So does that mean potential become Eldrazi or potential like okay, or just Eldrazi that have potential, and hopefully prevent the return of the Great Devourers? So it seems like this is not any new Titan or any of the existing Titans. I have to assume that what is happening here is that there's like basically leftover like because the Eldrazi, like I said, some of them corrupt stuff. So I have to assume that basically these are mortals that were corrupted, or maybe not even immortals that were corrupted. Who knows? These are native beings or otherwise physical beings that were corrupted, and they're kind of just coming in and attacking things. And I don't know if it's like sort of self-perpetuating, where like there's some sort of like Eldrazi almost like virus going around like corrupting more things and training more things into Eldrazi, or if it's just like there were just so many Eldrazi from like the last thing. There's just a bunch of corrupted Eldrazi still running around like this day, and the people have to deal with it. Hold on, let me take a drink of water real quick. Oh man, I've been talking for probably very long. Mechans on drones and androids. Okay, so drones are a creature type, I believe. There's constructs, there's drones. So you have construct, drone. So drone is a creature type. It's very weird because like they're not all artifact. There's like Eldrazi drones, and then there's like advanced hover guard. But there's also like that one from like Kamigawa 1 Neon Dynasty. It's like an artifact creature. So drones are kind of all over the place in Magic, but the thing they have connecting them, I guess, would be like this one's an artifact creature. Would be I guess they're like some like aspect or extension of like another being, maybe. So like a hive. I'm not really 100% sure. And then there's also now we also have robots like canonically, not just like yeah we have like Assault Dominator. I'm not 100% sure what the difference between a robot and construct would be per se, other than maybe it's like what they're fueled by. Like a construct might be magic, and a robot might be more like they maybe able to use magic, but it might be functioned by science, like electricity or something. I'm still not 100% sure, or maybe a construct is just like a more unrefined robot in some way. Um, interesting. I mean, tempted to say it's white line, but it could also be colorless because it's a artifact. It's some sort of creature card, obviously. It's like some sort of robot. Everything that has like these things, they could. I think they might be smoking. It's kind of hard to tell, but they might be smoking. They could also, yeah, I think they're smoking. This is coming off, so obviously very dangerous, very hot. Don't touch that. The robot doesn't have a conventional face because it's a robot, but of course, I love myself some robots with unconventional faces. They killed something. It looks like one of the gravity guys, one of the black, like I'm not sure if they're black line, but one of the monoists. Looks like they killed one of the monoists. So I don't, but their symbol is that of the pedicle. So this looks like a Pinnacle aligned robot that killed a monolith for whatever reason. This might be like the equivalent of like a hazard, like a police tape, like don't cross this line. Um, I mean, obviously the robot's the main character. There's like literally no one else. We don't even see the face of whatever's being killed here. There might be. I try to tell there's people in the background. Might be people. Just got some plants. So obviously the robot's the main character because it's like the brightest and sits the most. Mechans can be split roughly into two categories: drones, which are unconscious machines, and androids, which are conscious machines. So am I supposed to assume that like retroactively? I'm not 100% sure, but am I supposed to assume that drones like in general, but like are drones like in general magic just like supposed to be like unconscious beings kind of? Is that like the idea? Whoops. I had to look into that because like that could track. To be honest, that could track because you have a Eldrazi drone, the Phyrexian drone. I could see that that could work as an explanation. Like drones might be things that don't have like their own mind, basically. Um, Nearly every spacefaring civilization creates drones and uses them across civilian and military applications. Some space, like I guess this would be a military application. Some spacefaring civilizations have prohibitions against the creation of androids. I assume androids are specifically more humanoid ones because, at least as far as I know, in real life, the term android refers to like generally more humanoid, human resembling robots. So I guess drone is just like mindless robots, and then androids would be the robots with minds that can also like might resemble not necessarily humans, but like just living creatures. Drones are not afforded the rights of personhood, regardless of the complexity or the tasks they perform. They're simple machines in that they have no sentience or sapience. Drones operate on programmable code and cannot think of themselves as individual persons. They are regarded as tools, vehicles, computers, and so on. Drones can be controlled by a remote operator or computer or directed by an advanced onboard computer. Androids, in short contrast to drones, are whole personas. That's what I thought. They are sapient sentient beings who conceive of themselves with unique subjectivity. For the most part, in civilizations, they have developed androids. Androids, for the most part, in civilizations that have developed androids, androids are afforded the same rights as organic beings. So it kind of seems like what they're trying to avoid. They're trying to avoid what I call like the Star Wars problem, where in Star Wars, like the droids are sort of shit on, feeling like slaves and like objects, but like a lot of droids clearly have like opinions and like a conscience and like stuff, but they're no one ever takes it seriously because like oh they're just droids, and it's sort of it gets very weird sometimes where it's just like oh they're just droids and the droids clearly like having an opinion is like a person, like down in there. So this tries to avoid that by drawing a very clear distinction. Like okay, mindless robots are just like more traditional computers. Then you have droids which are like, and then you have androids which are like more like droids from Star Wars which actually have like opinions and stuff, and they treat the droids nicer. This one particularly looks like it's built by like the guy that's probably built or somehow related to like the Illboy somehow. Because it has like the little thing that might be like sculpted clouds around it. And we also know that they like to use these to like communicate. And then the rest is like sort of like more traditional metal. It's interesting because it looks like made of like almost like different bits. I mean, it resembles like a crab obviously because it's underwater in some ways, but it's got the pinchers. It but this is like almost like a different like device. That actually may be like a sideways fish, like maybe a face, like gills. I'm 100% sure. I might just be saying shit because I see faces everywhere. But I'm obviously main character because everything else is like has like a very strong tint to it. It's like pink, blue. It's probably a blue line creature, like artifact creature. I'm going on a limb here. Probably not a wild guess. Could probably be on the Lori homeworld. I don't know if they have like water, an ocean down there, but it wouldn't surprise me because I'm assuming once you get low enough, if the gravity's that high, you probably would have an ocean. Um, the process of becoming an android varies and is generally subject to some form of state-specific law, even if the law is do as thou wilt. It is possible for an organic person to make themselves into an android either through surgical implantation, augmentation, or through digital conscious transfer. It is perfectly possible for androids to be created and propagate without an organic origin. Some civilizations can create digital consciousnesses from scratch. From there, it is as simple as uploading that consciousness to a storage unit. Most artificial intelligences are referred to colloquially as VIs, V's, and are used to tackle the many variable constantly changing problems that drive most sociants to howl for station. Notation. Tezzeret. Is this something that's on is Tezzeret writing this? Tezzeret, please find attached a local handbook to the Sothera system. You know much of this already, but it wouldn't hurt to familiarize yourself with okay, Tezzeret, please find attached a local handbook to the Sothera system. You know much of this already, but it wouldn't hurt to familiarize yourself with the Pinnacle documentation for new arrivals. I pause the cancellation of the agent. The out-of-date material. Their security clearance has gotten to a classified dossier you'll want to see. I've appended it below. Who the fuck is that Jace? Who the fuck is that? Welcome to Sothera, an infinite guideline station handbook. The Sothera system. So, okay, once again, I think there's like some sort of enchantment. There's some sort of magical effect. Um, Interesting. Once again, we have that blue. I'm one of those three, and then purple. And then we have some sort of like, I don't know if it's supposed to be like something like using weft travel to travel to somewhere else, or just like some weird tear. We'll see in a second probably. Obviously, it's very interesting contrast. This is very like cool colors like blue, purple, black, like really dark colors, and then you get here it's like really bright, green, more warm colors like green, yellow, white. And we have ships traveling. I don't know. Looks like the ships are coming out of it, so I assume it's supposed to be weft travel maybe. Um, Sothera is the name of the super void that sits at the heart of the Sothera system. As is Pinnacle custom, star systems are named after the gravitational locus, the object around which all other objects comprising the system orbit. Sothera is billions of years old. As stars go, it is young and its death was sudden for a star, a cascade of cataclysms different from the nominal cataclysms. Sothera and her child worlds strayed through a mighty cloud of interstellar aether. Sothera, young and hungry, ate more than she could stomach. Too much cake. What is this guy fucking? Who in universe is fucking writing this? Too much cake. She began to rupture her bounds and collapse, her corona flashing out in terrible, beautiful smears of nuclear fire kilometers long. These spasms scoured her closest children, dissolving one to atoms, the other merely withered to its core. Centuries prior to the present day, the only native species of Sothera developed the technological capabilities to allow themselves to register the scope and scale of the catastrophe that Sothera's collapse threatened. Horrified at their telegraph's end, the Cab embarked on a species-wide project to emigrate from their world. This furious activity drew the attention of the Pinnacle. We came to Sothera, constructed an FTL outpost, and an eternity column designated Infinite Guideline. Am I not supposed to do that? Whoa. Back the fuck up. And open the system to the rest of the connected edge. So it seems like the system's orbiting a black hole, basically. I don't know, it's like a fucking black hole. Also this is probably like a land, maybe? Enchantment or a land? I'm thinking land. Probably like a swamp or something. Because obviously it's very swampy. Silver, a lot of purple. The Black Line loves using purple and magic art. There's some sort of combat. We see combat between the two like major religions there. The Palatinate and the monomisms. And obviously like the black hole in place of like an actual star, and even like the clouds and stuff are being like sucked into the star. So it seems like what's happening is that these two religions are arguing about what to do with this where this one wants like keep it a black hole and this one wants like turn it back into a star, which makes it a little more interesting because like because it seems like it's happened forever ago, so it's either like kind of keep things the way they are or try to fix it and reset it. I still don't trust either of those religious factions, but we'll see. Obviously, this is very interesting. Other groups rushing to Sothera, the monoliths of the monastery had the most immediate and apparent effect on the system. Sothera, prior to their arrival, was slated to collapse into a supernova within 200 Pinnacle standard years. Interesting. The monoliths captured that diverted Sothera's collapse, brought it Sekar, a bead that uses singularity induction, used by monoliths to create a super void or to accelerate the journey to the next eternity. So they want to keep it a black hole, and the other faction wants to turn it into a star, turning it inward to collapse on itself, becoming a super void instead. They have been scouring the edge for a sign from a sign from the messianic figure, the immortal follower, that points them towards the thousandth super void of their fallen. So there is that thousandth super void. Okay, so it's kind of starting to make a little more sense. So this is all taking place, and so far taking place in one system, but they're basically fighting over the system to figure out what to do with the super void / black hole. And some people want to reignite the star, some people want to let it go off the supernova, and some people want to keep it a void, it seems, if I have to assume. Super voids are ringed in a photon collar. The body of the star that they were born from, stretched and warped by tremendous gravitational forces. This sounds similar to like the disk that usually surrounds black holes. A photon collar is dim when compared to a main sequence star, but still bright enough to emit enough heat, light, and radiation to sustain life in their system. Collapse into a super void engineered by monoliths or as a natural phenomenon forestalls nova death. Sothera's photon collar is strong and emits enough life-giving energy to keep Susor, Secundi, Cavaron, Adagia, and Evendo habitable, but it is too weak to sustain life to sustain carbon life on Uteros. Interesting, because isn't Uteros the main planet of the blue guys. Yeah, it's the main planet of the Ill Void. So I wonder if they're leaving Uthros or what. About to get more water. We'll see. Susur. I mean, also they could just not be carbon life. They could be like silicon or something. Susur Secundi, first planet from Sothera, once called Anuki. Susur. Okay, I mean, I don't know if this is a land card. It's probably a land card because we can sync lands with planets. Obviously, being sucked into the black hole. I mean, not really a whole lot to say to this. This guy's just getting fucked. Very interesting warp effect. Susur Secundi is a terrestrial world close to Sothera. It is a dark, eerie world crisscrossed by labyrinths and monuments of rock formations that appear shaped by some long-lived civilization. Too many straight lines to be natural. The world is bare, dark stone with a thin atmosphere that leaves its surface largely open to the ravages of the edge. The Cav knew the world as a Nuki and had previously targeted it for exploration during their first forays into the edge centuries ago. They found it thick with common material and not with exploiting. After Pinnacle opened the Sothera system to the rest of the edge, the Monolith came to the Nuki, drawn at first by its proximity to Sothera. Upon surveying the world and discovering its labyrinths, monumental columns, and gravitational tides that conform to existing hymn in scripture, they were later to move to claim the planet for themselves. The Cav did not contest and claim, yeah, because no one wants that shit, bro. It has been decades since the Monolith settled Anuki and reigned to Susur Secundi, after the capital of their order, the great monastery at the lip of Susur. This is intended to be a great honor and signify the import of the potential Suthera super void upon the completion of their project. Upon the completion of the project, Suthera will become the 1,000th super void claimed by the Monolith since the founding of the order. It is only fitting then that the world nearest the dying star carry a diminutive honorific, have a monastery constructed throughout its great subterranean chambers, and become the main staging ground for monoliths in the Sothera system to advance their project. Susur Secundi's surface is barren, but for craters, ejecta, ruined debris, and veins of high albedo materials. I think albedo is a good color, right? I think saying they're white. High albedo. Oh, there's a lot of light. So very dark materials. Monitoring stations, observing blisters, and flight command towers dot the surface of Susur Secundi, with dozens present in each atmosphere to give the monoliths a clear and redundant view of the surface of the world and Sothera above. The main strength of the monolith's population is Sothera lives underground. Throughout missions to the world. Though there are vast underground labyrinths and structures below Susur Secundi's surface, the monoliths do not live in them. These cavities are instead regarded as holy sites, evidence of the immortal Father's designs, and reserved for study and used as places of worship and contemplation. Few non-monoliths are allowed to land on Susur Secundi, though many neutral stations orbit the world. Water ice dealerships. So that's interesting. So I guess they basically send they like transport water, they trade and sell water. Very central party monitoring and comm station, quarantine stations, and so on. Cavron, twin second planet from Sothera. Cavron that is, and the Cavron before. Well, that looks pleasant. Do each of these planets have a? It looks like these planets are also having some sort of like color alignment. Like I assume it's the black line planet. This will be red. This will be green, white, blue. Okay, and then yeah, figures. So this looks like a red. Obviously, not only is the planet separate, but also something blasting through it. And red also has a big association with like fiery explosions and like eruptions and stuff. So it looks like something blasting through the planet. Not much to say. Once again, it's the planet. Big focus, red, a lot of red in the background. You can see the void though. The Cav homeworld is Caveron. Once a verdant and resource-rich terrestrial world, it's now a ruined husk decaying away into space, picked over by scavengers, wildcat miners, which are an independent ship and crew not affiliated with a larger organization, most active freelancer smugglers and small-time miners. Imperial memorial teams and treasure hunters. Caveron crumbled after centuries of Cav industrial strip mining of the world for its rich moxite veins, weakened its integrity so much that they began falling to space, prompting the Imperial Cav to rapidly expand their space program to ensure the survival of their species. Eventually, the Cav were able to mitigate the crumbling of the world, buying them enough time to continue their spaceward migration in attempts to collect and preserve as much of their terrestrial history and culture as possible. So it's still there, it's just kind of like shit. The Cav regard Caveron as split into two hemispheres, Caveron before and Caveron that is. Caveron before is a tectonically mitigated wedge of Caveron, the last stable terrestrial remains of the planet that the Cav managed to stabilize with a ring of Massive tectonic anchors, great pillars plunge tens of kilometers into Caveron's crust. Outside this anchor wall, Caveron crumbles away to space, trembling and heaving as gravity tears the wall apart. Inside the wall, the Caveronic Empire collects the world's monuments, architectural wonders, great works of art, and eons worth of cultural treasures. There remains a large planetary population in Caveron before. The catastrophe that doomed Caveron began its cascading collapse in living memory. And the work of evacuating a global population off-world into free-floating space station into free-floating space stations is ongoing. The inner wall then has the experience of an open-air nation-sized museum, a memorial megapolis, where open space is a premium and populations of millions work to build and launch new stations, catalog and pack artifacts, and maintain the tectonic mitigation wall against the steady advance of catastrophe outside the barrier. Outside the wall, Caveron is a tumult, a cataclysmic landscape called Caveron that is. This land is less of a landscape and more of a churning gravitational storm of debris ranging from micrometeorite clouds to continental trunks. Rumors swirl of memorial vaults, hardened self-contained storage facilities built in the earliest days of the catastrophe to store artifacts, monuments, and even culturally important locations that could not otherwise be brought to Caveron before. So obviously Caveron before is probably named for the fact that it's what Caveron probably looked more like before it felt the shit. True or not, these rumors pull scavengers and hunters in from across the system. Countering these scavengers are Cav memorial teams, who race to rescue their ancient treasures. Caveron that is also a popular destination for wildcat teams to hunt, despite the deposits of moxite that might be too small for the large mining concerns. Though there are no more mother lodes left, these leftovers can still be life-changing for smaller teams. Additionally, these teams often raid damaged or open artifact bunkers where memorial teams have already evacuated the monuments to see if they can find anything worth salvaging. The more cutthroat scavengers even risk attacking memorial teams that they know are transporting goods. Caveron ultimately is doomed. The outermost ring of the tectonic mitigation wall, called Duranu, or the Modraine ring by the Cav, has already lost balance to the crumbling world. Though the wall does slow the brutal effects of gravitational warping and still the shaking earth under Caveron before, it does not stop it. One way or another, this generation of Cav and all that follow will be exiled to the Edge until a suitable replacement world can be found. Notation. I had thought Kavu an intelligent creature unique to Dominaria. Jesus, man. This place echoes the multiverse strange way. I see it everywhere I look. Now to make use of it. Ooh, Kavu? Hold on. I didn't really think about that. I kind of forgot they existed. But this comment also makes me lead to that maybe it's Jace making these comments, because, or at least some sort of Planeswalker. Probably Jace. Because only, I mean, other people could know about it, but it feels more like me. Huh. So I guess maybe the guy we saw earlier was probably Kavu, whoops. Like, this guy might be a Kavu of some sort. Maybe. Also points to, like, the Kavu being the red faction, potentially. The red species, because Kavu usually red-green. So... Evendo, twin second planet from Sothera. Evando is an icebound terrestrial world that co-orbits Sothera. And I mean, not much to say. It's probably a green world, and obviously, like, very lush. Obviously emphasizing, like, even the green in the background. But, you know, there's always the super void. There you can see. That co-orbits Sothera, almost exactly opposite Caveron. Long regard to the great disappointment of early known Cav explorers to be a cold, dead world. Doesn't look cold and dead to me. It looks very fucking lush. I might be wrong. Maybe I'm having a hell of a terraforming project. Evendo in truth held a deep-seated secret, a long-dormant terra symbiotic Humindian vanguard, waiting for the perfect conditions to begin the great work of terraformation. Okay, makes sense. I was like, that ain't look fucking dead. The previous century's cataclysmic deformation of Caveron had collateral effects on Evendo, as chunks of the Cav homeworld rained down on Evendo's glacial surface, churning and melting great swaths of its ancient ice. The world warmed and began to form a thin but stable atmosphere, spurring it to warm faster. The thin sections of the ice must have totally becoming new lakes, rivers, and oceans. This warming triggered the first wave of Eumidians to wake from their hibernation and emerge onto Evendo's surface to begin their work of preparing the world to fit their ideal. Their idol or ideal? Idol. Extremely happy, peaceful. Yeah, peaceful. Picture it like ideal. Evendo has since undergone decades of Eumidian directed transformation. Directed by Eumendian hive architects. Okay, so that implies that maybe there's some sort of insect species, question mark, if they're a hive. Evendo is a world of vibrant life and harsh contrast, where Eumendians have carved out and live in hard-fought zones of terra symbiosis. Pockets of lush Eumendian habitable enclaves surrounded by silly melting perimeters of glacier ice. Outside of terra symbiotic and enclave, the ice and titanic beings that live within it still rules Evendo. The large swaths of habitable land is Evendo's equatorial band, which has bloomed into a purely terra symbiotic biome with titanic atmosphere piercing forests interlaced with Eumendian hive cities. These bands shows that what the rest of the world will become. It is a terra symbiotic paradise for Eumendian mins and strange but wonderful environment for all the visitors. So this is only part of the planet. So okay, I guess this is band right here, and then the rest of this is ice. Interesting. The successful terra symbiosis has not gone unnoticed by the Cavaronic Empire, who are already designating invasive plants to take the world for their own once the Eumendians have finished. Brother, fucking chill, bro. I was kind of sympathetic, but now you seem like kind of like assholes. I mean, I get it, but like maybe like I don't know. Ask the Pinnacle for help. I finished remaking it. The Cav believes strongly that this could be their Cavaron tomorrow. Despite some inkling among Evendo brood spacers of the Cav's design, the rest of the population is content in their work and not aware of the looming threat the Cav poses to the gentle world. Kind of mean. Adigia, their planet from Suthera, once called Adawa. So interesting because there seems to be some sort of Wooburg origin to this, because even though it's not like it doesn't start with white, you have, if you were to draw this as like a circle, this would be the blue world, the white world. So this would be white, blue, and then you go back to the first world, black, red, green. So I think there still is a Wooburg pattern. It just starts on the third world. Third planet from Sothera, once called Adawa. Adigia is a terrestrial world in the Sothera system and the main location for the Sunstar Free Company's operations. It is a world that is defined by its powerful and steady winds, which scour the surface of the world and sculpt its geography. So once again, I mean, if you look at the art, it's pretty simple. It's like a lot of yellow and gold, which, you know, Magic loves to use to show white, and then you have like these giant structures flying overhead. I don't know if they're like solar panels or something, or just like space stations, because the Empire's clearly pretty big, and we have spaceships. And then obviously you have the Void. They're all connected by the Void. Like the Void shows up, lets you know they're all part of the same system. And of course it gets bigger the closer you get to the planet. So like biggest, smaller, about the same size, to be honest. And then instead of small, it's way over the distance here. The world's flora and fauna have evolved alongside the steady wind, shaping to graceful aerodynamic forms to use the wind to their own benefit. Off-world colonists have settled the calmer but still windy regions of the world, where they have built low-lying, wind-powered, aerodynamic sculpted buildings designed to integrate with Adiga's natural environment. Most notably, the Sunstar Free Company has settled on Adagia, where they are quickly declared. They clearly declared themselves the administrators of the world, acting as the expeditionary army of the Celestial Palatinate. I'm sure that ended up wonderfully. There was no conflict whatsoever. The local population who settled on the world prior to the arrival of the Sunstar Free Company was affiliated with the Palatinate. Oh, already. The orders arriving really formalizing the same relationship. Could have, at least it wasn't a war, I guess. The atmosphere on Adagia is thin and cold. An air-breathing human can survive without a rebreather or oxygen supply if they were to leave the safe. An air-breathing human can't survive without a rebreather or oxygen supply if they were to leave the safety of environmentally sealed habitat, but will risk death from hypoxia, embolisms, and other consequences of oxygen deprivation. So you wouldn't just immediately die, but something else could happen. I guess maybe if like you push yourself, like if you were walking around, you'd probably be fine. But if you start running, that's the logic I get. But let's just double check what the box is. The levels of oxygen in your blood. So you don't just like keel over, but it would eventually get you, it sounds like. Nevertheless, efforts to establish settlements around Adagia continues. The world is rich with fantastic natural life, and as such, is a prime target for various Palatinate pharmaceutical and agricultural companies. Adagia's native creatures have evolved to accept this windy environment, favoring aerodynamic shapes, broad solar abundance surfaces, and tolerance for the mighty storms that once sweep the world. So once again, kind of points to white alignment just like artistically, because white has a connection to flyers, i.e. aerodynamic shapes, and then solar abundance surfaces. So it gives you an excuse to draw a lot of creatures like hanging out in the sun. again, Swords are probably the flyers. Sail like wind skippers, Adigian arrows, sky minnows, and dart rappers are common sights around the colonial buildings on the surface. Large creatures drift in the upper atmosphere. Ooh, space whales? Maybe? Okay, here we go. Uthros, first planet from Sothera. So obviously some sort of gas giant. We know that they mold the clouds into like physical constructs. This is probably like these could be natural storms in the sky, be like a artificial thing, like almost like cloud cities, or like ways to enter into the like maybe lower levels. Once again, a lot of white because it's clouding, but blue. I mean, blue is connected to like flyers and clouds by extension. There's something glowing beneath the surface, which is interesting because we know there's like secrets. You see, I think they're like actually probably like lightning because we see this here, but could also imply something interesting going beneath the surface. Once again, a lot of blue in the background, and then because it's the farthest planet, the black hole is the farthest away. Utheros is a titanic gas giant ringed by dozens of moons. Have we seen this? I actually don't see. I mean, it has a ring of something. Um, Utheros is the first planet to be encountered by vessels departing the system, and the last stop for those heading into the interior. Owing to its gatehouse position in the Sothera system, its upper atmosphere is crowded with moxite refineries, supply stations, and vast shipbreaking salvage yards. Utheros has a common stopover for ships to refuel. So this is interesting because blue. It seems like the blue aligned planet, and blue does have a kind of strong connection to like vehicles and artifacts in general. So this might be like an excuse to like have like a bunch of blue aligned like artifact matter stuff. Resupply and trade. In these area heights, Earthos' environment is an azure cloudscape home to strata whales, gotta have your space whales, living anvil rays, tropo reefs, and other huge creatures that drift on sacks of gas and flagella. I hope we see these creatures on cards. But suspended above and swimming through the different layers of Uthros' atmosphere. The depths of Uthros Uthros. The depths of Uthros are a sharp contrast to the gas giant's sapphire blue upper atmosphere. So it is maybe just be very light blue. I'm not really sure. Below the paradise of sun, clouds, and mighty storms lurks a caustic and brutal high-pressure environment, where diamonds fall like rain over continents of super compressed gas, and hyper-dense cores stalk the remains of discarded space hulks. So I think it's reminiscent of like real life gas giants like Jupiter. Not to say that they have cores stalking discarded space hulks up there, but it's so strong that basically like physical like objects like crystals and stuff can basically rain from the sky or just rain around. I guess I don't really know if there's like at one point you have a distinction between the sky and the ocean, such a case, but also like I don't know if there's like the horrors could be like leviathans and stuff. Because I know blue has a thing for like giant like sea creatures, so this could be an excuse for like leviathans, nightmares. There's also blue line nightmares. I think not a bunch of them. They're usually black aligned, but they're like around. But I'm assuming that it's mainly for like their excuse to have leviathans if they have sky whales. Yeah, they have like blue line nightmares, just not a ton. Um, the depths of Earthros are whoops. Rivers of liquid metallic hydrogen and helium carve valleys through glittering methane ammonia ice. Very interesting. Once again, I think it is basically somewhat on our real world with like some of the strange like phenomena that create like different surfaces. Again, like blue has a strong connection to like ice and the cold and stuff, and also like silvery metals and stuff, and like liquid metal. Just like generally Magic the Gathering as like an art shorthand. So you're reading Howling Canula. A small tube through the body. I guess it's like howling tubes. You're doing Howling Canula bored by great worms and other beasts. Here in this deep blue hell, the Otheros combined has built a research complex into new atmospheric engineering techniques. I wonder why they want that. We both know that the station Utheros does far more than what they say, but the chances of a non-Elovi surviving the pressure of the gas giant are slim, so the lie persists. I'll continue to work on recruiting current Utheros Combine employees for intelligence as to their actual project. Infinite Guideline Station. I assume this is the pinnacle, but once again, I guess it could be interpreted as colorless. I'm kind of curious about that, and then this seems we could probably intuit about where it lies based on like how far it is from the black hole. I'm not gonna do that, but okay, actually, I might do that. Closer than this, so it might be like not quite Keveron, maybe somewhere around like a Daggy or a Vendo, maybe even closer than a Vendo. Maybe like a Daggy or a Vendo ish seems like the location. Infinite Guideline is a pinnacle is the Pinnacle's main transit hub in the Sothera system. The station is an Eternity column, a port for interstellar ships to arrive and depart, and the hub of Pinnacle administrative district of a Pinnacle administrative district. The station is a high traffic enclave where the people of the galaxy mingle on their way to and from the rest of the Eternities, all watched over and administered by the Pinnacle. I mean, that makes it sound like it might be closer to Uthros. To Uthros. I guess my guess, based on the size, is probably between Uthros and a Degi or something, or maybe, but it looks closer. Interesting. Um, Obviously, there's like space station. The space station's the main character. There's like not really a person or a face. Interesting lights. You got people flying to and from. Most people are flying into it, but okay, most people are flying into it from this side and flying out from these sides. So we're on the side. So the story being told is like we're probably also like as like a viewer also entering almost like this new world because we're on the side of like everyone's coming in to like explore like this place, and then everyone's also leaving that side. Um, and then once again, obviously it's a lot more clear like the influence here because like some of the plants kind of overshadow like because it's like very small and like this is like very yellow even though like the thing is still there. So, but this is a lot more clear like the thing's influence like it's like there's no planets to basically like fight over like um the audience's attention. Like it's very clear how much like influence this thing has, where it's almost like reaching out, purple, blah blah. The worm wall. Okay, that looks pleasant. Um, Probably a green card. Probably some sort of creature. It looks very big though. It was emphasized by like this thing like it's basically green and glowing, like exploding outward. So then you go like, what the fuck is that? And you see its face, you see its eyes, it's cracking like the dark contrast with the brighter green, and the rips the thing apart. The wormwall is the name of an asteroid belt that rings the Sothera system, marking all things outside as deep space and all things inside as Sotheran. Okay, so it's on the outside. Not I thought it was like our asteroid belt, whereas like in the solar system, it's the outside. The wormwall is a treasure zone of jagged space debris, living geodes. Okay, maybe that's what this is. Space derelicts, wandering comets, asteroids of all sizes, and great worms, titanic creatures of great age and wisdom, whose presence gives the wormwall its name. The difficulty of safely navigating this region means rescue is unlikely. Pinnacle Security recommends all craft keep a safe distance. So that's interesting. Cause it makes me wonder if because we did hear about worms earlier, but it makes it seem like there's a different kind of worm, like great worms as opposed to normal worms. So I guess normal worms live on the plants and great worms are in space. I'm wondering if this means we're gonna get like elder worms or something. That's like a card type. But I mean, we have a big creature devouring this planet, probably a worm of some sort. And as they get closer to it, it's more green influence as it destroys the planet. Guardian of Hyperion. The Guardian of Hyperion is a vast uncharted region in the Sothera system. And is regarded as a highly dangerous zone of space riddled with anomalies and strange phenomena. Ghostly signals emanate from the guard, speaking seemingly random words that some captains claim to hear personal messages buried within. Ships enter and never exit, likewise probes with their drones. Deep, powerful scanning systems never return nothing but static. The guard is popularly known among captains and spacefaring persons as a ship graveyard, a region that sublight and FTL ships enter but never leave. Interesting that even when they're doing FTL travel, they get something. So it's not just something that exists in the physical world, but maybe something also in the web. Currently, it is localized to the wide region of empty space between the wormwall and Uthros' orbital path. But worryingly, the garden appears to be moving. This movement is slow but directional, crawling in from deep space towards Sothera at a rate faster than a normal gravitic drift. Whether this indicates purpose or intelligence is unknown. All that is understood is that the garden is moving. Well, sure, that's fine. Okay, yeah, so I guess what we saw earlier was an example of a Kabu. So, interesting that we get sentient Kabu for the first time. We've gotten Kabu before, but they've never been sentient like this. Sothera native species, Cavaronic Federal Empire, and the Cab Memorial Navy. So, I mean, I'm leaning towards red here because there's a lot of orange and yellow. Although they're all like blue highlights, they're kind of like glowing in neon. This is probably some sort of creature card because this guy's the main character, and then you have these in the background. Those are like some kind of, I'm not sure it's supposed to be a whirling pattern, but it looks kind of like a whirling pattern. Look at it like almost like shooting outwards. And, obviously everything's kind of pointing to this guy. Like, yeah, the ships are all pointing to this guy. Like, well, let's point to his foot. You get it. That's an interesting character over there. Yeah, their stuff definitely feels like more like a red faction in the sense that they use a lot of red in the color. It looks like more rough and like jagged. The Cav are an old empire in the wider universe, forced to make a home among the stars due to climate collapse and apocalyptic tectonic destabilization. Driven by the impeding Sothera supernova, the Cav accelerated their extensive yet destabilizing mining projects as mounting cataclysms, all but tore the planet apart. They had to deal with their own world, a coup de grace of extracting mining and industrial production to lift not only their own species but enough of their biome off-world to escape the crumbling one. The tragic irony of the monolith's collapse of Sothera into a super void is not lost on the Cav. Their solar system is saved, but their world is still lost. So it seems like they have a. It seems like they're giving reasons for like why they might side with certain factions. So I can see them siding with the Palatinate because the Palatinate might more have a higher chance of saving the world if they reignite the star. But who knows? Caveron is the name of the Cav homeworld of the homeworld. This planet suffered tremendous mounting catastrophes that destabilized its gravity and tore itself apart. Now it is riveted in two, with one half of the world shattered into a vast debris cloud that follows close behind its remaining whole side as it orbits Sothera. Caveron before is the name of the remaining whole side of the world, where the Cav Imperial capital remains. Daily, the edges of Caveron before crumble away into dust and rock, mitigated by a ring of titanic tectonic anchors. Sorry, I'm slowly like losing myself because, I mean, not losing attention, but like as I speak because I've been talking for probably like 4 hours. Caveron that is what Cav called the ruined half of Caveron. Eventually, all Caveron before will become Caveron that is. So it's like a nice little metaphor for like the marching of time. Like, the Caveronic Federal Empire is the only Cav government. It administers the affairs of Caveron before and the Cav Memorial Neighbor and seeks out new worlds for the Cav to settle. So I'm wondering if this supposed to be like sort of like the warrior species, sort of like that kind of trope. The idea is like maybe they're like willing to fight a lot. Interesting that these are like kind of like almost resemble cars. They're a lot more blocky in their design. Decades have passed since Exodus Day when the first Cav lifted the first flight of refugees off Caveron's unstable surface. Since then, the Caveronic Empire has worked to manage and grow their vast orbital population, search for new homes, and stabilize sections of their homeworld to continue harvesting resources and salvage what could not be carried away. In the meantime, the Cav live in constellations of orbital diadems, massive stations in orbit above Caveron, and among nomadic mining fleets that frequent the asteroid belt, dividing the inner Sothera system from the outer Sothera system. I might have got that wrong. The asteroid belt might actually be in the system, but either way, um, Red has have connection to nomads, and there's like the nomadic lifestyles and Magic the Gathering, like for example, like the Mardu and stuff. I think also some of like the factions on Dominaria are also red, and they tend to be nomadic, just because it usually represents like some sort of speed or like movement, which red cards often like to represent. So there's definitely like a red faction here. Um, a dwindling population still lives on Caveron before the tectonically stabilized whole half of Caveron, going to be excavated and tending to the artifacts, monuments, art, and other cultural treasures of Cav collected in the last imperial city, the ancient capital of Vu. And Red also in Magic the Gathering also has a connection like artifacts sometimes and like arts and stuff as like a way of like self-expression and like conveying emotion. So that's also interesting. Vu is the name of the ancient capital of the Caveronic Empire. It is still largely intact on Caveron before, though it is now crowded with refugees and the cultural wealth of the whole Cav history on Caveron. Shows land depart around the clock, ferrying people and artifacts off-world as soon as there is space for them. Memorial vaults are seated throughout Caveron before and Caveron that is. These installations range in size from simple bunkers to massive citadel-like complexes. They harden against tectonic activity and intended to be self-sustaining, preserving the artifacts of people within until they may be found and extracted. Okay, so there are people on the planet or the planet's dying in certain areas, maybe. Once again, it's also like a red card, maybe something with haste because the way it's running at you, like, and then it has like a red axe, and then this person's highlighted by like the glow of their axe, and obviously these are more background characters because more the face is like less detailed, but this face is like more detailed, clearly highlighted by their axe. There's a lot of red, orange, like warm colors on them, but like the environment themselves is like more cooler. It's like a destroyed ship there, so maybe Caveron. Probably a creature card. Also like an asteroid. Probably Caveron somewhere because like we have stuff like flying in the air. This guy's very like not filled with a bunch of stuff. It's more plain than have we seen, even though it's very colorful and stuff. Like it's kind of got like a Aurora Borealis effect, which might also be a like come from the planet's destruction. The majority of surviving Cav line on Titanic mining stations above and around the remains of Caveron. Most Cav are miners, Moxite hunters, or serve on memorial teams and are the backbone of Cav Memorial Navy (KMN). Come on. Whether miners or sailors, Cav are handy in a fight, inclined towards martial and physical solutions, and passionate in their missions. Some solo services as mercenaries to non-Cav mining crews, acting as guides and muscle to lead non-local teams on successful mining or salvage missions in the remnants of their homeworld. The Cav Memorial Navy, Kuman, is the interstellar navy of the Cavaronic Empire. Its ships are primarily made of converted mining vessels, making them extremely hardy but less maneuverable than comparable fleets. But you can see, like, on their design, like, these are obviously, like, clunkier, which makes me even wonder if this, what we saw way earlier, way back here, if this is a Cavaronic ship. Maybe it doesn't look quite clunky. But it does look, like, bulkier than some other stuff we've seen. Memorial teams are KMN ground teams that operate on and above Cavaron. They police the city of Vavu and manage the excavation of Cavaron before and range out into Cavaron that is to extract intact vaults to be returned to the Cap people. So there are bugs. Evendo strain Umidians. Okay, they have strains. Very interesting that they have like these. This is almost like they could be messengers, but it also might be like how they breathe, maybe. Because bugs do breathe through the skin, but that might also be this. But probably green aligned because bug insects can be green or black, and these are very green. There's a lot of like stuff in the background for us. Obviously, our main character is the only person in the frame, and then you know they're doing something. You look at here like, oh, what are you doing? And it's like some weird like plant that also is like weirdly connected and has like weird patterns, something coming out of it. I'm wondering if like maybe they like speakers or something. That could be interesting because I don't know if they can talk. It'd be interesting because like I think they might be able to talk normally, but it'd be interesting if like since they're bug people, maybe they need like some sort of speaker. Because like they don't have like traditional mouths. Like see, that looks like it could be a speaker. The Neomidians are a breed of an ancient terra symbiotic species whose homeworld is in a distant, forgotten system and may not even exist anymore. The species propagates via vast siege ships. Okay, so that explains the different strains. Maybe that depends on what world they're on. Living incubation vessels that burn across the stars, launching whole broods of Eumedian seed pods towards worlds they cross. Notably, while they are communal beings, they are not a hive mind controlled by a queen. Okay, so even though they live in hives, they're not a hive mind. Eumedians are horizontally organized and manage their affairs by brew consensus. This tight-knit relationship comes at a cost, however, as Eumedians of different brews might as well be aliens to each other. So, yeah, but definitely giving more. This is definitely more of the green faction vibe. Once they get on the world, seed broods burrow into the ground and wait for the minimum optimal conditions to begin autogenesis, the creation of Eumedian life from the microbial slurry secured inside each pod. This process begins with the generation and hatching of Eumedian vanguards, hardy and adaptable life forms who strike out from their steaming pods to seek each other and form terraformation bands. We begin a long process of terraforming their seeded world by gathering the necessary building blocks of life to feed back into their pods. So this might be one of those non-necessary interesting like little thing. So this might be from inside one of the pods. Look at, or maybe I don't know, interesting. But this like we see this and the insects like more life and the rest of it's frozen, but this acts like a sort of like the frame for the character, where it's like it's a very smaller pinpoint for which the character is actually like picking up as opposed to like the entire image. But interesting contrast between like the warm like yellows and greens to like the colder blue and even like the blue of the sky. And this guy's like more of like a warm pink and green with like in comparison to like the rest of the blue or colder environment. Even this looks like hot in comparison. So that's interesting. Couldn't tell you what color. Oh yeah, I'm tempted to say green, but who knows? Could be some other color. From these Vanguard teams, obviously probably a creature too. From these Vanguard team efforts, the first enclaves are established, small settlements of intensely Eumedian parasymbiotic land, where Vanguards work to build structures and bring more seed pods that they uncover in their ranging. More Eumedians are hatched, the broodmates tuning these neophytes to grow better depth to their current conditions than they were. Okay, this is why there's different strains, because they're being specifically adjusted for their environment. This parasymbiotic process exponentially advances the brood's terraforming effect, bringing both the brood and the locals to each other. In time, the growth of this process will convert the seeded world from whatever its prior state was into a primordial verdant Eumedian planet, though not wholly devoid of its original characteristics. So it definitely has like green sort of like live in harmony kind of with nature thing, accept it for as it is. This is not trying to completely override what the planet is. The collective labor, the EU medians build worlds, and individual will not live to see the project through. But the species will survive persist through the collective actions of individuals. EU medians are intelligent, careful, hardy, and dedicated beings, though an ultimate expression of their symbiotic effort is the eventual creation and launching of one or more seed ships. Spreading their life is not the sole goal of their people. They create art and industry, practice faith, and create scientific exploration, fighting amongst themselves and fail. Four never managed to build their first seed ships. Oh, that's so rip. The EU medians are not perfect machines, and despite their intensely instinctual species-wide project, once again, could be pointing to green because green has a major emphasis on like instinct. They are not a hive mind, though they all feel a pull toward propagation among the stars. They are their own people, just as full of promise and potential as any other. So this could be a vehicle. It's interesting how they make all the vehicles, like these vehicles are clearly organic. So it's interesting how they make all the ships like clearly like defined. Like this might be like this looks like a ship that like a kind of ship that you grow and then it detaches and it flies. I can't tell if this is a land or a vehicle though. It could be a land. I could see it's being a land. Could be a vehicle like a ship. Maybe the main character here. Obviously, green, blue, yellow, with purple in contrast to the green. I wonder if a green black faction because a lot of bugs can be green and black, but it could just be green faction. Little glowing bits. Obviously, the people aren't really the main. I mean, individually, it's like more about the crowd of people. Like these guys are coming out. You guys might be going in, maybe being welcomed and waved to. So it's more about the people of the collective as opposed to any one individual character taking up the scene. Eomedians on Evendo are engaged in a great work of terra symbiosis, and as such, also the name also points to green terra symbiosis. Like we might see it like an artificial thing, but to them, they might be more of a green alignment thing. Because it might be like, oh, we're terraforming, but we're doing it symbiotically with the, we're doing it with the land. We're not fighting the land. We're not, artificially, like turning into something artificial. Like it's still organic. And as such, outfit themselves accordingly. They carry ice carvers to hew away at massive mighty glaciers, straps and packs and lengths of rope to assist them in scaling the ice when necessary. They also carry weapons to fight what monsters appear from the permafrost. Some EU minions engage in the frontline work of terra symbiosis, acting as rangers for. A ranger is also like a pretty sure magic like class for the labor camps and settlements, while other EU minions support this work through biomatter processing, reweaving the bodies of home roommates into fresh potential matter for the structures and fellows. Okay, I'm wondering if this is like a green black faction, but we're using it with a spent line with green because if you look at green, it does have like graveyard effects. Like put it back into your library, so it would make sense that it fits into this idea of like cycle of life and death and like reusing bodies. They engage in this work with reverence as witness to and agents of the cycle that ensure their brood persists and thrive, and that not one life is wasted. Esteli. Oh fuck! Did I hit a button? Oh fuck! Oh no! Oh no! I have to reread it all, guys. Okay, Esteli. Very interesting design for an angel. They look kind of like cosmic clouds. I forget the name of it, like the official name. They look like a nebula. They look like living nebulas. They don't really have a face, which is interesting, because like most angels are just people, and this one is clearly a humanoid. But I'm wondering if like if you took off the armor, would they still be a humanoid shape, or that like the armor giving them form? And like interesting that it's like considering White's philosophy on like collectivism, interesting that the angels don't have a face, but this could also just be a helmet. But it would be interesting if the angels in this plane didn't have a face, like focus on more like the idea of like a collective as opposed to like individual identities. Probably a white alignment just because even though it's purple, here's like a lot of white and gold primarily, and purple's probably from like the nebula inspiration. But there's a lot of white. It's almost like they fade almost, but not quite. They almost fade into like the universe itself. Like they are themselves like a part of the universe because they're living nebulas, obviously, and so you can see like a dark purple for space, then it becomes lighter purple, and then it becomes gold, and then you have like the angel itself, which is like mostly gold and like pink and purple. And the armor they're wearing is gold, and they're wearing that monoism armor. And here you have like the knights following them into battle. Interesting that this almost like bisects. Like this could be like a ring on the planet, but this also could be like some sort of shot or bullet or laser flying by, like it doubles as both. And this planet like is around the angel, which kind of highlights the angel here. And here it's like almost like something is like rising up, and like the angel's landing, or like forcing the angel or something is kicking stuff up. This is a very interesting piece. Obviously, these people are not the main character. I mean, none of them have faces, but this person's bigger and closer to the camera. So I'm inclined to say this is like some sort of feature card. I wouldn't be surprised if it gives some sort of buff. The Astili are living remains of stars consumed by supervoids. They are the concentrated tears of mana that slipped away from a photon colors and coalesced into living beings. So this fits in line with what we know with angels already, because angels, if you don't know, in Magic the Gathering lore, angels are literally like living on like beings made of pure white mana. Well, not always pure white mana, depends on the plane. But generally, the default angel is a being made of pure white mana. In some planes, they may be made of other color manas or have other mana codes in them somehow. But so this is basically made of mana from like stars. So they're like cosmic beings. The first Esteli appeared after the monolith expansion from Point Prime began, fleeing the advancing wave of collapsing stars to find refuge in distant corners of the edge. This flight was long and winnowing. The monoliths consumed many refuge stars, collapsing them into supernovas as they chased the Esteli and grew their dominion. So, there's sort of a conflict where like the monoliths are collapsing stars, which creates more Esteli, but the Esteli probably don't like that because they're like a part of the star. So the Esteli are probably gonna team up with the Palatines to try to stop that. In their inexorable advance, the monoliths overwhelm many less advanced civilizations, either wiping them out, okay, utterly, or integrating them into the crusading evangelical faith. So neither of the faithful factions look like good people. Both the Palatines and the monoliths look like stereotypical like religious fervor, but also like in different aspects. Like one's more like a white aligned like collectivism, more like a black aligned individualism, and do whatever it takes. But they both look like bad guys, which is interesting because usually there's like a problem where sometimes black is just portrayed as like the bad guy, at least on the surface level. So it's interesting if we get. I'd be very interested to see if we get like a white aligned bad guy, but I'd be a little disappointed if it just boiled down to monoliths are the good guys and the Palatines are the bad guys, or the Palatines are the good guys and the monoliths are the bad guys. I'd be more interested to see like two maybe equally bad or equally flawed or like debatable factions going at it with like maybe the Pinnacle as like the good faction. The Astili ahead the monoliths, always ahead of the monoliths. At first, only ran. When they looked back at their trail of ruin, though they realized they were running would never be enough. They needed to stand and fight. Their first attempt to fight back saw hundreds of Astili standing alone against the advancing monoliths and dying overwhelmed without even fighting against Susarians themselves. Facing down their enemies on the front lines was never going to work. The Astili realized the Astili adapted. Once again, fleeing before the monoliths, the Astili learned from their enemies, finding refuge stars that fed civilizations. They settled amongst these civilizations to preach their doctrine, impart the dire warnings of the advanced monoliths, and prepare for war. So the angels often have a religious bent in magic, so it makes sense that they would also have like a religious bent here. These teachings became the foundation of the current Sumist faith of the Celestial Palatine. Ooh. Although it is a closely guarded secret in the Palatinate. So, okay, so they are obviously makes sense they're connected to the Palatinate because they seem like white-aligned entities here, and the Palatinate seems like a white-aligned faction, but it's not knowledge. So the Palatinate seems like it exists solely or almost completely, so the angels can basically stop the monoliths from collapsing more stars, but not everyone knows that. So people would probably have different opinions or ideas of what the faith actually is or entails. The Astili have, for the time being, found a strong ally in the Sunstar Free Company of the Palatinate, who see in the Astili the holy figures of their own faith, because it seems like the Astili made it? Question mark? Yeah, because the Astili made it. The Astili hold the shared memories of their parent star, forming tight-knit communities of siblings, all descended from the same swallowed star in the hopes of carrying on its fire. Astili can only be born from the ruin of a star consumed by supervoid. Glossary. Oh, fuck. Unstruth. Blasphemy. To do, speak, or think Anstruth is to act against the grand cosmic accordance of Sumism. Anstruth is anti-epistemic, anti-doctrinal, and profane. Anstruth posits that which cannot be posited, assumes that which cannot be assumed. That which cannot be posited, assumes, we say. Alabile, a metal used by monoliths in the construct of the grav kill suits. Jesus Christ. Again, this sounds like some like Warhammer shit, like some like Terminator or like Power Armor shit, and that might explain why they look so big in some of the pictures, because these might be like grav suits, like super soldier suits almost. Metal used by monoliths in the construct of grav suit. It is resistant to the effects of singularity, so allows you like basically walking around like black holes and stuff without getting fucked. Gladiator. That's such a funny name. Gladiator. A Sunstar Free Company hardlight blade, capable of emitting blasts of solar energy. So, a lightsaber, except maybe also a gun, because you can't have guns of magic. Cherazad. A tactical event horizon. Creates a distortion bubble that delays the momentum from high impact, allowing monolith ships to crash into enemy ships and engage in combat before the bubble collapses and lost momentum is immediately restored. So, I don't know if the implication is that. Well, I might need to check my dog in a second. I don't know if the implication is that it's only on their ships, but this also could be an example of a bubble. Um, Incoglas, both a power source and a conduit used by the Sunstar Free Company. It is embedded into all of their machinery. Do we actually see any of that? Is that could we actually point that out anywhere? I don't know. Trying to see. I don't know if we can actually physically see it, but or if it stands out in any way. Um, Vita, the promised and inevitable end of the universe, is articulated by monolith thought. Moxite, a rare fuel source that powers interstellar flight. Sakar, a beat that causes singularity induction, used by monoliths to create a super void or to accelerate the journey to the next eternity. I wonder how big that bead is, because that bead's like a small. If that bead is as small as like an actual like, necklace bead and not like a big orb, then I can see why it'd be a pain in the ass to stock. We could probably just drop that shit and put a star. Sociant, person belonging to a pinnacle member state. Super void, a singularity with unusual properties. So it is a black hole, the singularity. Or I guess maybe not black hole, but it is a singularity in the same vein. Distinct from a true black hole, in that it has a proton collar that continues to emit light. A proton collar emits light. So it is a singularity like a black hole, but it isn't a black hole. Wildcat, an independent ship and crew not affiliated with larger organization. Most act as freelancers, smugglers, and small-time miners. And then we have a first look. Do I want to read through all of this though? This is just like who's gonna reveal what. Oh, we have some Sammy, ship's engineer. At the beginning of your end step, if you control 2 or more tap creatures, create a tap 2/2 robot artifact creature token. Whenever Sammy was down on their luck, they return to an odd comfort, the clinks and clanks of tinkering. So seems non-binary. Tezzeret, cruel captain. Whenever an artifact you control enters, put a loyalty counter on Tezzeret. Untap target artifact or creature. If it's an artifact creature, put a +1/+1 counter. So it seems like obviously artifact creature is gonna be a major thing here already. And maybe tapping creatures. Search your library for an artifact card with mana value 1 or less. Put it into your hand and shuffle. You get an emblem with at the beginning of your combat. Your turn, put 3+1/+1 counters on target artifact creature you control. If it's not a creature, it becomes a zero robot artifact creature. So clearly, something to do with artifact creatures and something to do with robots is going to be going on in the set. It's just new. I mean, I'm not sure really if we really need that to be a new vehicle type, but I mean, I'm not complaining. I guess. I mean, it seems kind of weird that spacecraft wouldn't be a subset of vehicle, but well, I'll think about it later. The Seriema, legendary artifact spacecraft for 1 and 2 white. When Seriema enters, search the library for a legendary creature card, reveal it, put it on top of your library, and shuffle. Station. Tap another creature you control. Put charge counters equal to its power on the stagecraft. Station only as a sorcery. If it's an artifact that 7 plus the hell. Flying. Tap other non-creature legendary. So I guess once you have 7 charge counters, you can activate the 7 plus ability, which then against flying and other tap legendary creatures you control undestructible. So once again, it seems like taps will be a mechanic, like I'll be caring about tapped creatures. Also charge counters maybe, which is pretty interesting. Interesting that we have a spacecraft, doesn't it? It just feels like a weird decision. Like I would have just assumed spacecrafts would have been vehicles, but I guess you don't need to crew them. I guess that's a difference maybe. Is you don't need to crew them. I will look into the commander rules change later. I don't know. We're just gonna focus on so that any legendary card with a printed power type can be your command. What? We're updating the rules of the commander so that any legendary card with a printed power and toughness. Okay, so if it's not a creature. Okay, so some things I understand. So some cards in Magic the Gathering start off as like enchantments or artifacts and turn to a creature later. And sometimes they have power and toughness, like, but it's like this creature is not a creature artifact until you hit 5 Smorbions. So I guess what this is saying is that things that can become a creature artifact, a creature that can become a creature later, or have the potential to be one, can be your commander. So legendary vehicles and spacecrafts. I mean, I can't complain. It's kind of fun. Oh, I gotta keep this. It's kind of fun. I'm sending this to a friend. I can't complain. I know some people are gonna complain, but I can't complain. That's a fun idea. That's cute. I accidentally opened the wrong thing there. Where is Lime? Counterintelligence and World Shaper Commander decks. Okay, Kylo Apogee Mage. Haste. Whenever Kylo becomes tapped, proliferate. Okay, so both Sculptor and Sculpted. Robot Artificer seems like one of the androids. Maybe a robot, but it seems like an android. Says Real Genesis Shepherd. Interesting. Green, red, black. You may play lands from your graveyard. Whenever you sacrifice another non-token permanent during your turn, put a number of +1/+1 counters equal to Sazera's power on up to one other target creature. We're releasing 2 new commander sets for Edge of Eternities, each featuring a borderless legendary creature as a space commander. Charge up your Arcus Kylo Apogee Mage or bend plans to your will with Sazera's Genesis Shepherd. We'll reveal more about the decks in the future state soon. I wonder if we'll get more commander decks, but that'd be weird. Breeding Pool. Log 1.4.778. Greno, a tropical moon teeming with endemic biota. A must-see for any aspiring astrobiologist. Maysays Edge Chronicles. Hopefully get this person in a card. Log 1.7.618. Star Shadows, a relic of culture. Star Shadow, a relic of a culture lost to calamity. Its people were eradicated in a single day, but by what? Maysays Edge Chronicles. So it seems these are these moons, or are these supposed to be like the specific planets? Are each of these lands moons? It seems like. Secret Foundry. As this land enters, you may pay 2 life. If you don't, it enters tap. I don't know why I read it, like, not everyone knows about those. Log 2.21119. Kiln known for its blazing forges and ancient lava seeps. The footing may be treacherous, but the metallurgy is great. Log 2.5.325. A newborn moon. Yeah, so I think each of these lands is a moon. A cot still turns with the fires of creation. I'm eager to see what it will become. Watery Grave. Log 2.6.089. Lamawat, the cemetery moon of salvageable salvaging secrets. Could be profitable for those brave enough to plumb its recesses. 5 shock lands, yeah. I mean, you guys got tempest. Super Void. Okay, so they're Super Void. Legendary enchantment. So it's not a creature, so it's not alive. It's just like a thing. Whenever a creature you control dies, each opponent chooses a creature they control and exiles it. So it represents a black hole. You lose something forever. At the beginning of your end step, if a player controls no creatures, sacrifice it there. Then put a creature card exiled with it onto the battlefield under your control with 2 additional +1/+1 counters on it. That's interesting. I wonder if that is some nature of the void, or if it's just like a fun mechanic thing. Iconic cards return Solar Sight lands. What the fuck? Mutavault. Oh, that's cute. It's got like a little alien language. Aw. Yeah, it's got like little things hiding in it. Yeah, okay. Mutavault land. I'm skipping most over this one. I mean, we got some cool art. Like, interesting that this is like all like plain white, and it's like Tezzeret, cool captain. So he's captain on some sort of ship, sitting on here with a throne and like sexy metal body showing it off. Borderless basic lands. If lands were cheaper, this would definitely be some land that I would get. Or not cheaper. If lands were like all the same cost, I'd definitely be prioritizing these lands because these are very pretty. Obviously, plains, a lot of white and gold. Island. I guess it's a floating island. You can see it's like constructed by like the Illboy's like cloud like weaving. So it's a very interesting pattern, and then like it's clearly in the sky somewhere with like the space maybe above it, blue white. So you might be looking from like under it ish. Swamp. This is probably the planet closest to the void. So here are the lines and stuff of like the religion, and then I guess each of these are ship. Each of these portray a ship. I'm actually well. I guess the ship. That's the ship right there in this case. Mountain, obviously the dying world. Here we have like their mining ships flying through. A lot of red, a lot of orange. You know, gotta have the volcano stuff. Gotta have bigger purple and black for the black line ones. Red, orange, and red for the red. Yeah, here we obviously. And she doesn't melting. There's also like rain at first, but you quickly realize this is actually like a giant glacier like melting. I think falling on top of it, creating the illusion of rain. Potentially, because we know the trees like goes into the stratosphere. So, and obviously they're so it's more organic. A lot of green, but like obviously you gotta have the blue ice. I would love to draft this if I get a chance. I'm not sure if I'll have the money to draft it by the time it comes around, but I would love to draft this. I would love to have a chance to draft this next. So I'm very excited for this. And then we can look at spoilers, which we've already seen this like cool captain. So basically, he's framed by like the star, like this simplified star or planet symbol. It's like he's the focus here, and this is like kind of built around it. And then he's sitting like on this throne. There's obviously nothing in the background really, except like these like really basic shapes. So obviously he's the main focus. Tether it is. And then here we just have like the full arts of the lands, which are very pretty. Here we have like distortion effect of like the singularity. The ship is the main character here, obviously, and it's white and use like some like light colors and like might be gold or orange. Could be gold in shadow, kind of to tell. Interesting how like symmetrical this almost is. Like it's almost like because you have the worshippers and then these parts are symmetrical, but then you have like it becomes like more less closer you get. Like these are just like planets, and then but it's a very like symmetrical, like almost design quality to this. Like it fits like with the religion, kind of. Like there are like bits that are like obviously different, like the way like the paths of the planets that they fly into it, but there is very like a structured like quality. This might be how they view it, as like a sort of like structured like ordained divine, like ordained and divine like thing. Harmonious Grove Strider, a weird looking dinosaur, or beast. What a weird looking beast. These creatures, this creature's power has Ward 2. This creature's power toughness you control are each equal to the number of planets you control. Beyond the borders of pinnacle space, alien worlds of untold wonder await. I mean, big green creature, coppery color. Everything else is green. Like, it's like a planet above here. I'm not sure that's its head, per se. It is its head, it's a fucked up head. So yeah, its head is kind of highlighted by like the moon back there, or planet. Everything else is pretty plain. We already saw Breeding Pool, Tonic Memorial Instant, Landfall. Okay, interesting. I mean, it makes sense to care about Landfall because the planet's literally falling apart. So it's like they're looking for like lands. It's like plunder. Whenever a land you control enters, Tonic deals 1 damage to each opponent. This is the second time this ability has resolved. This turn draw a card. Very interesting. Very interesting combination of red and green, where the green's card draw, but green cares about creatures. But it's like, hey, if you do damage once, that's the red part. If you do damage again, since you have a creature doing it, you can have a little green tree and draw a card. Serving in the Memorial Navy was nothing like the posters made it out to be. I can fucking imagine like a military complex flying to you, huh? I think that's it. I think I'm gonna stop it there. I'm not gonna do the stories because, like I said earlier, there's like plenty of places to check out the story if you're really that interested. I'm kind of excited to at least dive into it. We'll see how I feel about the Avatar Lesson set when it comes out, but I'm excited to at least look at it and dive into it. Oh shit, we have fucking cards. Wait a minute. Hold on. And firebending is a keyword. Firebending 2. Back the fuck up. Hold on. I didn't know we had cards. Harness the elements and join. Oh, I mean, flying firebending 2. Whenever you waterbend, earthbend, firebend, or airbend, draw a card. If you've done all 4 this turn, transform Avatar Aang. Hangmaster of Elements. It's really weird because he's already in the Avatar state, but they choose the moment where. So it's very interesting, like story being told, where he's already in the Avatar state, which usually thought is the most powerful, and he has the red, green, white, and blue. I assume air is gonna be white, blue, water, green, earth, and red, fire, because that's just like the elemental associations. I mean, we'll see how it's portrayed like in, but it's interesting that he becomes like Wooburg, like he like one becomes colorless, which I think is supposed to represent like a sort of enlightenment. 2 is represents like a moment basically where you're supposed to become like one with the Avatar state and get control over it. So it's interesting that the weaker side isn't him not being the Avatar state; it's him not having as much control over it. And then once he gains control over it, he transforms, and even says in the card, "It's scared to do nothing; it's hard to forgive. It's easy to do nothing; it's hard to forgive." And this is him basically like making peace with himself, unlocking the Avatar state. Suppose you cost like Blueberg let's cap. At the beginning of each step, you may transform any Master of Elements. If you do, you gain 1 life. You gain 4 life. Draw 4 cards. Put 4 +1/+1 counters on him, and he deals 4 damage to each opponent. So these represent the 4 elements. 4 card draw. 4 +1/+1 counters. 4 damage. So I guess 4 is the 4 damage is the one master. The each having like a Wooburg less cost is probably like the mastery of each element, and then 4 life is probably like water bending because that heals. Draw 4 cards. Maybe airbending. 4 +4 earthbending probably, and then deal 4 damage to each opponent. I'm kind of curious to see how they'll handle each of the elements. I kind of hope it's more interesting than just like airbending draws cards, because it's like because I think like earthbending caring about lands would probably make the most sense. And then Airbending maybe cares about flying or like evasion, and then firebending is pretty on the nose, probably direct damage. Waterbending, I don't really know, maybe healing. Um, I'm not gonna dive into the Final Fantasy one, mostly because I don't know anything about Final Fantasy, so I can't really do anything justice about it. I'm gonna be very selective about when I decide to cover like collabs, just because I don't know anything about Final Fantasy, so it's kind of hard for me to do it justice in its analysis. Other than like, wow, what a cool blue and red looking card. I mean, I don't know if philosophically is blue and red, but it sure is a lot of blue and red. So I think that's all for now. Thank you guys for stopping by for however long, even if it wasn't for very long, because I know it's probably like a 5 hour stream at this point. 2 hour and 45 minutes. Um, so thank you guys. I'll see you all.